Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Astronomer, a calm corner of the cosmos where the universe tells its stories slowly, and science feels like stargazing in a dream. If you find comfort in these quiet cosmic journeys, subscribing to the Sleepy Astronomer helps this little constellation of wonder grow, so more dreamers like you can drift beneath the same endless sky. Tonight, we look ahead, billions of years into the future, to a meeting written in the stars, the moment when our Milky Way will collide with the Andromeda Galaxy. Right now, Andromeda shines faintly in the northern sky, a soft blur of light over 2 million light-years away. But it is moving toward us, not rushing, but gliding through space at nearly 100 kilometers every second. One day, its spiral arms will stretch across our sky, growing brighter, larger, until the two galaxies finally touch. Don't imagine a crash of stars and fire. Space is mostly empty. The collision will be slow, elegant, a dance of gravity unfolding over billions of years. Stars will weave new paths, nebulae will ignite with newborn suns, and our night sky will transform into a breathtaking storm of light. From Earth, or whatever remains of it, the view will be astonishing. Two galaxies swirling together, their cores glowing side by side, like twin lanterns merging into one flame. This cosmic meeting will reshape both galaxies into one grand spiral, a new world astronomers already call Milkomeda. And at its center, the supermassive black holes of both galaxies will spiral inward, joining at last in a moment of radiant power. So breathe softly, and let the future unfold before your mind's eye. Even in collisions, there is creation. Even in change, there is beauty. This is the Sleepy Astronomer. And tonight, we'll drift forward in time to witness the slow, graceful union of galaxies, when Andromeda and the Milky Way finally become one. You lie beneath the quiet sky, where stars shimmer like memories. The night feels endless, a canvas of silver dust drawn across black velvet. Yet beyond what your eyes can hold, something is moving. A great spiral of stars, the Andromeda Galaxy, is slowly drifting toward you. Not with fury or haste, but with the patience of eternity. It moves so quietly that even time itself seems to hold its breath. You cannot see it move, not tonight, not in a lifetime. Its motion is too grand, its rhythm too vast for human senses. But if you could watch the universe for millions of years, you would notice it, the faint, steady approach, like two distant travelers walking toward one another across a desert of stars. This is how galaxies greet each other, not with sudden motion, but with a long, graceful fall. Between you and Andromeda lies 2.5 million light-years of emptiness, a gulf so deep that light itself takes longer to cross it than all of human history. And yet, gravity reaches across that distance as effortlessly as a whisper. You can imagine it now, a thin thread of attraction, invisible but unbreakable, pulling these two galaxies toward each other. It is the same gravity that keeps your feet to the ground, the same that guides the moon around Earth. What holds you, holds everything. The air around you feels still, but your world is never still. Earth spins, the solar system drifts, the Milky Way itself sails through space. You are part of this motion, not separate from it. As you breathe, as you blink, you are moving at hundreds of kilometers every second. Yet you feel nothing, for motion in space is smooth and endless. There is no wind in the void, no friction, no sound. Just movement through silence. When you look toward Andromeda on a clear night, you can see it faintly, a soft smudge in the darkness. That blur of light is made of hundreds of billions of suns. Some are like your own, others are enormous, ancient giants burning blue-white and fierce. Around them orbit planets, moons, and perhaps oceans under other skies. And somewhere, perhaps, another watcher lies awake, wondering about you, a small speck of consciousness looking back across the abyss. The thought is comforting. Two galaxies, two homes of countless worlds, drawn together by the oldest force in nature. No rush, no panic, only inevitability. Andromeda approaches at about 400,000 kilometers per hour, yet at this distance, that speed feels gentle, almost still. It is as if the universe prefers to take its time, letting every motion unfold in a rhythm too deep to hurry. If you could hear the universe, it would sound like a slow, endless hum, the murmur of motion, the vibration of gravity's invisible strings. And in that hum, Andromeda's approach would be just one note among trillions, soft but sure. Close your eyes and imagine floating beyond the Milky Way's edge. From there, your galaxy looks like a glowing whirlpool, arms of starlight curling around a golden heart. You drift further, and now you can see Andromeda too, tilted like a mirror image across the void. Between them stretches darkness, not empty, but alive with faint traces of hydrogen gas, cosmic dust, and thin whispers of radiation left from the beginning of everything. You float between the two, feeling the faint tug of both sides. It's a quiet, balanced place, like standing between two deep breaths. You can almost feel time stretching, as if the universe itself is waiting for the moment when distance finally gives way to touch. Every star within both galaxies moves in delicate coordination, orbiting, drifting, swaying to gravity's music. The stars themselves will not crash. The spaces between them are vast beyond imagining. Instead, they will pass through one another, like ghosts through fog, bending light and reshaping their paths in a silent waltz. The real meeting will happen in their hearts, the clouds of gas, the magnetic fields, the dark matter halos entwining like unseen hands. You realize something profound. Collisions are not always destruction. In the universe, they are also renewal. Galaxies collide, and new stars are born. Planets find new suns. Chaos becomes creation. And as Andromeda nears, the future hums quietly in the distance. Not an end, but a transformation waiting to unfold. Above you, the stars seem eternal, but they too are moving pieces of this cosmic dance. You imagine tracing lines between them, feeling how each one connects to another, how every orbit is part of a grander design. You are part of it too, your body made from atoms born in ancient stars, your mind shaped by the same forces that spin galaxies. You are not watching the universe, you are within it. As you breathe in, think of the scale, the years it takes for light to travel, the patience of gravity, the slow turning of time itself. Every second of your life is stitched into this large emotion. The Andromeda you see tonight is already millions of years old, a memory of light still traveling toward you. When those photons touch your eyes, they tell a story that began before humanity ever existed. You are seeing the past, and yet you are part of its future. The silence deepens. You imagine yourself drifting farther into that space, your body weightless, your thoughts slowing until they move like light through the void. You feel small, but not insignificant. The universe is vast, but it is not separate from you. The atoms in your hands were born from stars like those that shine in Andromeda's core. You are the universe remembering itself, briefly awake, softly aware. Now you sense the slow pull, not as fear, but as inevitability. Two spirals, two families of stars, moving toward one another as though drawn by destiny. It will take 4 billion years before they meet, time enough for countless generations of life to rise and fade. And yet, the motion is already written, already begun. The cosmic tide has turned, and the Milky Way drifts ever closer to its mirror. There is comfort in this slowness. The universe does not hurry. It unfolds as it must. Every motion, every light, every breath, all part of one continuous story. The sky above you holds this story in its quiet glow. The light from Andromeda is faint, but steady. You gaze at it, knowing that what you see tonight is both past and promise. It is a reminder that even across unimaginable distance, connection endures. You breathe out, and the stars seem to breathe with you. Somewhere, far ahead in time, two galaxies will meet, and new stars will be born from their embrace. But for now, all is calm. All is waiting. The night holds its stillness, a moment suspended between what was and what will be. And as you drift towards sleep, you feel the quiet question forming, a thought that hums beneath your breathing. What lies within that distant ocean of stars, waiting to meet you when the journey begins? You drift forward, gently, as though carried by a tide that does not rush. The darkness ahead softens, unfolding into light, a light so vast it feels like an ocean made of suns. This is Andromeda, not as a distant smudge, but as a living sea. Every point of brightness is a star, every flicker a world in motion. You feel as if you are floating through eternity itself, surrounded by the slow glitter of existence. Each star burns with its own tone, its own quiet rhythm. Together, they form a symphony too deep for ears, a harmony of light that stretches across millions of light-years. The closer you drift, the more the pattern reveals itself. Spirals of gold and blue curving through the dark, their arms like waves frozen in mid-motion. The galaxy breathes slowly, expanding and contracting over billions of years. You begin to sense the pulse of it, a rhythm that matches your own heart. You imagine each star as a single drop in this cosmic ocean. Most are solitary, some clustered together in great schools like celestial fish. Around many of them orbit planets, tiny, unseen beads tracing circles of silence. Some glow with warmth, others are shrouded in ice or gas, but all share the same truth. They are bound together, held in place by gravity, the quiet current of the universe. Gravity is not a force that pushes or pulls in the way wind does. It is more subtle, more patient. It does not shout, it persuades. Like the moon drawing the sea, gravity invites everything into motion, not through command, but through longing. It curves the path of light itself, bending it gently through the vastness. And it is gravity that holds this entire ocean together, turning chaos into order, darkness into structure, nothingness into shape. You watch as a great cluster passes by, a city of stars shining like lanterns in an invisible breeze. Some are young, burning white and blue, restless with energy. Others are older, glowing red, the slow embers of once fierce fire. Around them, faint clouds of gas swirl, shimmering like mist above unseen shores. In these clouds, new stars are being born. They gather from dust and hydrogen, collapsing inward until gravity turns them incandescent. Every new star is a small sunrise in the dark. You begin to notice how everything in this ocean moves in circles. Stars orbit the galactic center, carried by the invisible halo of dark matter that surrounds the galaxy. You can't see this dark matter, yet you feel its presence, a soft pressure at the edge of awareness, like the deep current beneath a calm surface. It is this unseen structure that holds the galaxy together, preventing its arms from unraveling into emptiness. Without it, the ocean would scatter into mist. As you drift deeper, you realize how fragile balance is. Each orbit depends on countless others, each motion guided by invisible equations older than time. There is a sense of perfect stillness, yet nothing here is still. The galaxy turns once every few 100 million years, so slowly that no star will notice. But together, they move with grace, as though choreographed by something vast and kind. You find yourself wondering how this came to be, how billions of suns found one another in the dark. The answer, whispered through the silence, is simple: time. Over billions of years, clouds of gas cooled, gravity gathered them, and stars ignited. From those stars came heavier elements: carbon, oxygen, iron, the seeds of life. You are, in some distant sense, a child of this same process. The atoms in your blood were once part of such stars, born in the furnaces of long-forgotten galaxies. You move closer to the galactic core, where the light thickens. Here the stars crowd together so densely that night nearly disappears. They circle a center you cannot quite see, a massive black hole, millions of times the mass of your sun. Yet even this heart of darkness is not destruction. It is balance. Its gravity anchors the entire ocean, holding the swirl of stars in harmony. It does not consume them, it conducts them. For a moment, you close your eyes and listen. The silence of space feels full of motion, full of meaning. You imagine this light as sound, the stars as notes drifting through the void. You can almost hear them, a song of fusion, orbit, and time. Each tone lasts for billions of years, fading only when its fuel runs out. Yet even in death, a star leaves behind new materials, scattering the dust that will form new worlds. The cycle never ends. The ocean keeps flowing. As you drift past the luminous core, you emerge again into the soft edges of the galaxy. Here, stars are fewer, and the darkness returns. You feel the faint tug of your own home, the Milky Way, across the void. You imagine its spiral arms reaching toward Andromeda, invisible bridges of gravity connecting them across the darkness. Two vast oceans, drawn by the same current, slowly closing the distance between them. You realize now that the space between galaxies is not truly empty. It is filled with faint rivers of hydrogen, the afterglow of long-dead stars, and the unseen presence of dark matter. Every bit of it hums with possibility. The universe, even in its quietest corners, is alive with motion and change. You take one last look at the ocean of Andromeda, a sea of light that stretches beyond imagination. Somewhere within it, perhaps, a planet circles a gentle star, and on that world someone may be looking up, wondering if they are alone. You would tell them they are not. You would tell them that across the void, another ocean shines back. The pull between you deepens. It is soft but certain. The two galaxies are bound, like twin tides drawn toward a shared horizon. It will take billions of years, but one day they will meet. The first ripples of their union are already forming, faint as breath, patient as dawn. As you float away, you can still feel the glow of Andromeda on your skin, like sunlight remembered from another time. The stars fade behind you, yet their warmth remains. You are part of this ocean now, a drifting consciousness in the current of creation. And somewhere ahead, in the quiet dark, that current begins to pull more strongly. You can feel it gathering, a subtle tension, a promise whispered through gravity's thread. It is the beginning of movement. The moment when two oceans begin to draw closer, preparing for the first step of their dance. You begin to sense it now, the quiet thread that ties everything together. It moves through you, through Earth, through every atom and star. It has no color, no sound, no scent, and yet it shapes everything you know. This is gravity, the most patient sculptor in the universe. You cannot see it, but you can feel its presence in every fall, every orbit, every breath drawn toward the ground. It is the invisible hand that keeps you, and all things, from drifting into the dark. Imagine holding a grain of sand on your palm. The planet beneath you, vast, spinning, ancient, is pulling that single grain downward with the same quiet certainty that binds galaxies. Gravity does not choose where to act, it simply is. It flows through space like an unseen tide, linking everything that has mass, every speck of dust, every sun. It is the universe's most intimate connection, a soft, constant touch between all things. Here, between the Milky Way and Andromeda, gravity's pull is almost imperceptible, like the faintest hum of a distant bell. And yet, over billions of years, it will draw two entire galaxies together. The distance between them, 2.5 million light-years, is shrinking by a few hundred kilometers every second. To you, that seems glacial, almost still. But to the universe, it is a heartbeat. The slow rhythm of inevitability. You drift through that space now, the in-between. The stars of Andromeda shimmer far ahead, the Milky Way glows faintly behind. Between them stretches a vast ocean of darkness, and yet this darkness is not empty. It is filled with gravity's invisible lines, threads woven so gently that even light must bow to them. You feel these threads brushing past you, curving space itself like silk rippling in water. If you could see gravity, it would not look like a rope or a chain. It would be a web, soft, elastic, alive. Every planet, every star, Every cluster of galaxies forms a node in that web. The denser the mass, the deeper the indentation it makes in the fabric of space-time. Einstein described it as the bending of space itself, not a force pulling you down, but a curve you are naturally following. You are falling, always, even when standing still, because the Earth has gently curved space beneath your feet. Now, imagine that same curvature on a galactic scale. The Milky Way and Andromeda are two great depressions in the cosmic fabric, slowly sliding toward each other. They do not know why. They simply move along the contours of space-time that gravity has shaped. There is no choice in this motion. It is written into the architecture of the universe itself, a promise whispered from the beginning of time. You think about how gravity acts everywhere, from the smallest stone to the largest star. It is both humble and immense. It binds the moon to Earth, Earth to the sun, and the sun to the Milky Way's spiral arm. And beyond, it binds one galaxy to another, through filaments of dark matter that stretch across the cosmic web. These filaments are the skeleton of the universe, vast bridges of invisible matter connecting everything. Through them, galaxies move not randomly, but as parts of a grand design, flowing toward one another like droplets merging in a cosmic stream. You float near one of these filaments, invisible but palpable. Around you, faint glows mark clusters of galaxies like beads on a string. The thread hums softly, resonating with motion, the whisper of gravity's endless work. You realize that gravity is not only attraction, it is memory. It remembers where everything has been and keeps their paths entwined. Every orbit is a kind of remembrance, a repetition of ancient motion. You look down, though in space, there is no true down, and sense the weight that is not weight, the pull that is not push. Even here, far from planets or stars, you are inside the field of something greater. Gravity does not stop, it only grows weaker with distance, never truly gone. That is its magic. It connects what seems separate. It keeps the universe from falling apart. You think of your own body, built from matter that once floated freely in space. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, all forged in the hearts of stars bound by gravity. When those stars died, gravity gathered their remnants, scattering dust across space until it formed worlds like Earth. You are here because gravity refused to let go. It pulled atoms into stars, stars into galaxies, galaxies into families. It pulled the chaos of the early universe into a structure of infinite grace. You begin to sense how everything moves together, not as random fragments, but as parts of a cosmic dance. Even Andromeda's approach is not violent. It is as natural as the tide returning to shore. Gravity moves them with purpose, but without haste. There is no struggle, only inevitability. You feel a strange calm in that thought. The same force that keeps you grounded is also guiding entire galaxies toward one another. The small and the vast are united by the same law, the same rhythm. Ahead of you, the space between the galaxies begins to shimmer faintly, as though responding to your realization. You can almost see the invisible curve of gravity, gentle, infinite, patient. Each galaxy bends the other's path just slightly, a conversation without words. This is how the universe communicates, through motion, through attraction, through the geometry of space-time itself. You drift along one of these curves, feeling its quiet certainty. Gravity doesn't command, it invites. It allows everything to move freely, yet ensures that nothing is ever truly lost. Even when stars drift too far or planets are cast away, they remain within its reach. Every lost world still belongs to the universe. Every lonely star still hums in gravity's key. You begin to understand why collisions are not accidents but conversations. The Milky Way and Andromeda are not enemies, they are partners drawn together in the oldest dance of all. When they finally meet, their stars will not collide. The spaces between them are too vast, but their shapes will merge, their paths will intertwine, and their centers will spiral together. Out of their meeting, new stars will form. Gravity, patient and unending, will create again. You think of how this same principle applies to life itself, how people, worlds, and even thoughts are drawn together by invisible pulls of their own. Attraction and belonging, curiosity and wonder, these are gravity's echoes in the human spirit. You are part of that pull, your heart attuned to the same subtle law that binds galaxies. For a moment, you let go of all boundaries. You are weightless, yet connected to everything, to the earth holding you, to the sun shining on you, to the galaxies slowly spiraling through the dark. You realize that there is no true separation anywhere, only degrees of closeness, only the patient work of gravity drawing all things home. The pull deepens. You feel it gathering strength, not yet fierce, but steady. The galaxies are beginning to respond more clearly to one another. Their motion, once barely perceptible, has become a faint drift, a promise of movement written across billions of years. And as you float within that invisible current, you begin to sense what will come next. Not collision, but connection. Not chaos, but choreography. The dance is about to begin. At first, you don't notice the movement. It is too soft, too ancient for the human sense of time. But somewhere deep in the cosmic silence, the universe takes a breath, and the Milky Way begins to move. Far across the void, Andromeda feels that breath, and answers. The two galaxies, each a storm of hundreds of billions of stars, begin to drift toward each other, not as rivals, but as partners in a dance written into the very shape of space-time. You float in the vastness between them, a silent witness to their first step. It does not look like motion in any ordinary sense. There are no waves or winds here, only the subtle bending of paths, the reshaping of orbits, the deepening of gravitational curves. The stars themselves seem still, and yet every one of them is gliding along invisible arcs, pulled by a music too slow to hear. Imagine standing on the shore as the tide begins to turn. The water does not rush, it leans. The sand feels the shift before your eyes can see it. That is what is happening here, a leaning of light, a turning of entire galaxies. Andromeda's spiral arms begin to stretch, slightly distorted by the Milky Way's growing influence. The outer stars twist into delicate ribbons, trailing faintly across the void. From this distance, they shimmer like threads of silk suspended in darkness. Gravity's song deepens. It is not a single tone but a harmony, the combined resonance of billions of stars, each one contributing its quiet hum. You feel it as vibration rather than sound, moving through the emptiness like a heartbeat. The galaxies are responding to one another now, their halos brushing, their dark matter fields intertwining. This is not collision, not yet. It is anticipation. If you could see the invisible structures around them, you'd notice the halos of dark matter, vast, ghostly spheres of unseen mass that surround both galaxies. These halos are the true dancers, they're mingling the first embrace. They reach across the void before the stars do, touching softly, exchanging momentum, whispering through gravity's language. The Milky Way begins to sway slightly, pulled off balance by this unseen partner. Andromeda mirrors the motion. Their centers, each anchored by a supermassive black hole, shift ever so slightly, tracing slow spirals through the cosmic dark. You move closer, drawn into the rhythm. Stars on the outer rims of both galaxies begin to drift, their paths curving gracefully inward. The galaxies tilt toward one another like two great petals folding in slow motion. Light bends in long arcs. Clouds of gas shimmer faintly, lit by newborn stars forming under pressure. The dance is not only graceful, it is creative. Wherever gravity compresses gas, light is born. The space between them glows with the promise of future suns. You realize that this dance has no music in sound, only in form. The arcs of stars, the spirals of motion, the balance between attraction and momentum, these are its notes. You can read them the way you might read waves on the sea, rising, curving, fading, returning. The Milky Way's spiral arms extend outward like open hands, reaching toward Andromeda's luminous heart. The pull is irresistible now, though it will still take billions of years for them to meet. Time stretches thin here. What feels like stillness to you is motion beyond comprehension. Every 1,000 years, they drift closer by another cosmic inch. Every million, the night sky changes subtly. If you were to look from Earth now, Andromeda would appear just a little brighter than before, a faint, hazy oval growing clearer with every human generation. The stars do not rush, they glide, serene and inevitable. As you float through this slow ballet, you begin to notice the faint bridges forming, streams of gas and dust drawn out from the edges of each galaxy. These are the first threads of connection, luminous ribbons that shimmer against the dark. They are born from gravity's persuasion, stretched and sculpted by invisible hands. You pass through one, and it feels like drifting through memory, ancient light, gentle and familiar. Inside both galaxies, life continues unaware. Stars burn and fade, planets orbit, civilizations rise and fall. Yet above them all, this vast motion continues, unhurried, eternal. The galaxies are dancing, but no one within them can feel the steps. You realize how the universe moves not in moments but in ages, not in beats but in breaths. What seems eternal to a human life is merely the first measure of a cosmic waltz. And still, there is peace in this. You feel the beauty of inevitability, how everything finds its rhythm, even across the silence of light years. The Milky Way's arms gleam like rivers of silver, Andromeda's core glows golden, its light spreading across the void like a gentle sunrise. Together they begin to curve around a common center, caught in each other's pull, tracing an orbit that will tighten with time. If you could speed the universe forward, you'd see them spiral inward, circling closer and closer, their shapes distorting, stars flung outward in great arcs. But in this moment, they are still separate, two dancers facing each other across the vast floor of space. Every movement is preparation, every curve a promise of union. You watch as Andromeda's faint halo catches the edge of the Milky Way's outer disk. Light scatters, a ripple through the sea of stars. You feel the first true brush between their edges, not collision, but touch. It is soft, almost shy. A tendril of gas from one galaxy threads into the other, and gravity pulls it gently, weaving it into a new spiral. Creation begins not with fire, but with contact. The stars themselves do not collide, the spaces between them are too vast. Instead, they pass through one another like dancers through mist, their gravity reshaping their paths, their light bending into new constellations. The night between them flickers as the galaxies move closer, each step changing the fabric of the other. You realize then that this dance is not just about approach, it is about transformation. Neither galaxy will remain what it was. Their meeting will erase old shapes, forge new stars, and change the rhythm of the universe forever. And yet, in that change, there is grace. For every ending in space is also a beginning. Every collision births a new harmony. You take one last look before drifting further into the dark. Behind you, the Milky Way and Andromeda curve ever closer, their spirals entwining. Ahead lies the deeper part of their motion, the touch that will create storms of stars, rivers of light, and the birth of something entirely new. You feel the stillness before the crescendo. The galaxies have begun their dance. The next step will not be gentle. It will be luminous, wild, and full of creation. And as you float through the growing glow, you sense what is coming next, the first true contact, the beginning of light reborn from motion. The first touch of light. At last, the galaxies touch. It happens not in a moment, but in a slow, unfolding breath of light. From the vast edges of Andromeda and the Milky Way, streams of gas and dust begin to intertwine. Their meeting is not violent, not yet, It is tender, a merging of motion and energy. You hover within that boundary, where two seas of starlight meet like merging tides. At this scale, light becomes movement, and movement becomes creation. As clouds of hydrogen and helium collide, they compress and heat, the quiet alchemy of gravity at work. In these converging rivers of matter, new stars begin to form. They flicker like sparks rising from a cosmic flame, igniting one by one until the darkness glows with the promise of 1,000 dawns. You feel it, the warmth of light that was never there before. Stars are being born in clusters, brilliant and restless. Some are massive, burning hot and blue, destined to live fast and end in supernovae. Others glow softly, steady and golden, built for long ages of gentle light. The galaxy's collision has awakened a storm of creation. What once was silence now sings. And yet, there is stillness in the heart of this birth. You move among clouds vast enough to cradle entire solar systems, watching filaments of dust twist into luminous spirals. The light they emit is not harsh but tender, diffused through gas, softened by distance. It feels like drifting through the memory of a sunrise that never ends. Everywhere, stars flare into being. Their ultraviolet light pierces the surrounding gas, sculpting it into glowing shells and delicate arcs. You can see the edges where shockwaves ripple outward, rings of illumination expanding through the dark. Some of these waves travel for light years, carrying the story of creation across the interstellar sea. Gravity guides everything, but now its song grows complex. It no longer simply draws galaxies together. It orchestrates billions of small interactions, stars weaving past each other, systems bending, gas clouds twisting into luminous ribbons. If you listen closely, you can feel the rhythm of this new order. It is not chaos, though it looks like it. It is harmony born from collision. The first true storm begins near one of the crossing arms, a place where gas and dust from both galaxies collide most densely. There, the energy of motion transforms into heat. Atoms crash together, and pressure builds until the gas collapses inward. Then, with a brilliant flare, a new star cluster bursts into light. You drift through its glow, feeling its warmth ripple across your being. It is like standing at the edge of time, watching creation rehearse its first moments again. You realize that this is how every star is born, not through peace, but through balance between collapse and resistance. Gravity pulls everything inward, pressure pushes outward. When those forces find equilibrium, a star awakens. In that harmony of opposites, light emerges. It is the same balance that holds galaxies together, that keeps planets in orbit, that allows life to exist. Creation, it seems, is always a negotiation between falling and holding on. You pass through a region dense with new suns. Their light spills across the gas, painting it in shades of pink and gold. Around some of these stars, disks of dust swirl, the first ingredients of future worlds. Though no life will ever see them form, they are already shaping possibilities, scattering minerals, carbon, and ice into orbits that may one day feel familiar. You realize that from such collisions, every world, even your own, was once born. The Milky Way and Andromeda now overlap in shimmering arcs. Their spiral arms, once distinct, begin to tangle. Stars are pulled into elongated trails, sweeping through the void like brushstrokes of fire. The blackness between them fades into pale light, as though the universe itself were exhaling illumination. You look back and see both galaxies not as separate beings, but as one grand, expanding bloom. In the distance, a supernova erupts, one of the first massive stars born from this collision already reaching its end. Its death is magnificent, scattering heavy elements into the surrounding gas. Those elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, are the seeds for future planets, oceans, and breath. From death, the cycle continues. Even endings here glow. For a while, you simply float, letting the light surround you. It feels almost liquid, waves of illumination flowing past, shifting through colors invisible to human eyes. The ultraviolet glare fades into gentle infrared warmth, a reminder that light is not only something to see, but something to feel. You imagine this radiance as sound, each wavelength a note, each flare a chord. The result is not noise, but a cosmic lullaby, vast and slow. You notice something subtle. Even in this brilliance, shadows remain. Pockets of dark gas drift between stars, dense enough to absorb light. These are stellar nurseries still forming, where gravity has not yet kindled fire. The contrast between light and dark gives the galaxy depth, a breathing rhythm of illumination and silence. It feels like the heartbeat of the cosmos itself. Far below, the Milky Way's disk warps, its once smooth curve bending under Andromeda's pull. Waves of stars ripple outward like the surface of disturbed water. Yet this too has beauty, the motion of billions of stars moving together in response to invisible forces. Nothing here resists the flow. Everything yields, adapts, becomes. Time passes differently now. What you see unfold in minutes has taken millions of years. The light you swim through was born long before human memory, yet you experience it as now. The universe does not hurry. It expands, unfolds, and transforms in its own gentle way. And as you drift, you begin to understand, even collision, when seen at the scale of eternity, is a form of peace. The galaxies continue their slow embrace. The light between them grows richer, more intricate, like threads weaving into tapestry. You can sense the direction of this motion, inward, toward a shared center. The stars are no longer simply moving toward each other, they are beginning to orbit together, bound in a gravitational dance that will shape the next billions of years. You look once more at the regions of brightest light, those newborn star clusters glowing like embers against the dark. They will one day scatter, their stars migrating outward to become part of the merged galaxy's heart. But for now, they burn in unison, a luminous reminder that creation often begins in meeting, not in isolation. The silence returns, but it is no longer empty. It hums with memory, with the warmth of birth and the gravity of change. You feel it within yourself, the awareness that every atom in you has passed through some moment like this, long ago. You are not separate from this story. You are its continuation. And as the galaxies draw closer, their light blending into one shared glow, the next stage of their transformation begins. The piece of light gives way to motion once more. The waves of gravity deepen. The tides between stars grow restless. The dance is far from over. It is only now beginning to find its rhythm. Soon, the tides of time will rise. The meeting of galaxies has become a storm of light. Where Andromeda's vast arms fold into the Milky Way's embrace, space itself trembles. Gas clouds, once drifting freely, crash together with gentle fury. They compress, they twist, and in the silence of vacuum, they blaze. This is no battle, it is a birth, a billion new suns kindling at once, filling the dark with warmth. You drift through the heart of this cosmic cradle. Around you, stars form in clusters so dense that the night has texture. They shimmer like jewels floating in an unseen current, each one a young furnace of hydrogen and fire. Some are so massive they will burn out in a few million years, brief candles in eternity. Others will endure, lighting the merged galaxy for trillions of years to come. From a distance, these births resemble nebulae, great clouds painted in blues, reds, and golds. Their colors arise from energy, hydrogen glowing crimson, oxygen shining pale blue, dust scattering light like mist around a sunrise. You pass through one such cloud, and it feels like entering the breath of creation itself. The light doesn't blind you, it enfolds you, soft and endless. This is how galaxies renew themselves. Every collision brings destruction, yes, stars torn from their paths, systems shattered, planets hurled into the void. But in the ruins, gravity begins again, gathering the pieces, forming the next generation of stars. Nothing in the universe is lost, everything becomes something else. Even chaos has rhythm. You feel that rhythm now. It hums beneath the light, the pulse of gravity moving through everything. Each particle of gas, each drifting mote of dust, answers to that invisible beat. You realize that the collision of galaxies is not random. It is guided by balance, the same principle that keeps your breath steady, your heart rhythmic, your body anchored to the earth. As you watch, the galaxies' shapes begin to warp. Their elegant spirals distort into streams, arcs, and tails, luminous trails of stars stretching across millions of light-years. Some of these trails loop outward, curving like ribbons in slow motion. Others twist back inward, forming bridges of light that link the two galactic cores. These bridges are the arteries of creation, carrying matter from one heart to the other. You pass along one such bridge. It is a luminous river, filled with young stars that sparkle like scattered seeds. Some travel together in small groups, bound by gravity's touch. Around a few, you glimpse faint rings of dust, the beginnings of new solar systems. You imagine them forming planets someday, perhaps oceans, perhaps skies. The idea feels impossible and yet inevitable. From such collisions, life finds its raw materials. Amid this radiant storm, older stars are not destroyed. They adapt. Some are flung outward, exiled to the far edges of space. Others settle into new orbits, drawn into the deepening gravity well of the merging galaxies. Each one carries its own history, the story of a sun, its planets, its light. Together they weave the new structure of what will become one immense, elliptical galaxy, glowing with renewed youth. You move closer to one of the central regions, a place where the gravitational pull is strongest. The two galactic cores are approaching, their supermassive black holes spiraling toward each other. Around them, chaos blooms beautifully. Clouds of gas swirl in vast, luminous disks. Streams of matter funnel inward, heated until they radiate like stars themselves. The black holes are not visible, yet their influence is absolute. They draw everything toward balance, not by consuming, but by anchoring. Here, time behaves strangely. The gravitational fields are so intense that moments stretch, light bends, and even motion feels soft. You watch a distant cluster of stars curve as it moves, its path subtly distorted by the fabric of space. The galaxies are no longer separate. They are intertwined in motion, inseparable in destiny. In the midst of this, new elements are forged. Within the hearts of newborn stars, hydrogen fuses into helium, releasing energy that has powered every sunrise since the universe began. In massive stars, heavier elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, are created, the same elements that will one day build planets, mountains, and bodies. You understand, suddenly, that this dance of destruction and rebirth is not remote or abstract. It is your ancestry written in light. You drift deeper into the cloud, and the light grows softer, dimmed by dust. In that muted glow, you sense silence again, not absence, but rest. Here, the youngest stars are hidden, still swaddled in their birth clouds. They flicker faintly, like embers waiting for breath. You feel a tenderness toward them, as though witnessing something sacred. Each will one day blaze across the sky, but for now, they sleep. Far beyond, shockwaves ripple outward, marking the edges of the collision. Some stars are ejected entirely, flung into intergalactic space. They will drift alone for billions of years, carrying with them the memory of this union. Others will fall inward, becoming part of the central bulge, the dense heart that glows long after the outer regions have quieted. As you watch, the galaxies' cores draw nearer. Their surrounding gas brightens, fed by the gravity that accelerates their merger. You see arcs of energy radiating outward, the signatures of quasars, blazing from the inflow of matter. For a brief span of cosmic time, these galaxies will shine brighter than all the stars around them combined. And then, like a breath released, they will calm again. You begin to realize that even this storm, this birthing collision, is temporary. The light that now blazes will fade, the stars will age, and the merged galaxy will settle into quiet symmetry once more. Creation is not a single event. It is a rhythm, expansion and rest, ignition and cooling, motion and stillness. You close your eyes and feel the pulse of that rhythm through everything. The galaxies, the light, your own heartbeat. You are part of this continuum, not separate from it. The same laws that sculpt these stars govern your body. The same atoms that shine here also flow in your veins. You are a small echo of this vast creation, a momentary reflection of the universe's endless rebirth. The storm begins to ease. The brightness softens. The chaos gives way to structure, streams of stars forming new orbits, gas clouds spreading thin once more. The two galactic cores continue to circle closer, but the worst of the turbulence has passed. In their wake lies beauty, a tapestry of light stitched across the dark. You look back and see the shape of what they are becoming, not two galaxies anymore, but one, luminous and young. The light is gentler now, like a fading song. You can almost hear the echo of it, the universe singing itself into new form. And as you drift outward, leaving the heart of this creation behind, you sense another force rising, something vast and invisible, shaping everything from within. It is the slow current of time itself. The tide that will carry this newborn galaxy toward the next chapter of its becoming. You float in the stillness between galaxies, where distance no longer feels like emptiness but like the soft pause between heartbeats. Space expands and contracts around you, not with noise or motion, but with the quiet rhythm of something vast and patient. As Andromeda and the Milky Way continue their slow descent toward each other, an invisible tide begins to rise. It is not made of water, but of gravity, the pull that stretches the fabric of time itself. You can't see it, but you can sense it, a faint distortion in the rhythm of the cosmos, like a breath that takes millions of years to complete. Every massive object, every cluster of stars, exerts its pull on the rest. Over the span of eons, this pull becomes a slow dance, an exchange of momentum and memory. The two galaxies, like enormous tides across a cosmic ocean, are feeling each other's presence long before they touch. You imagine standing on a distant planet near the galactic edge, where the night sky has always been constant, the same patterns, the same lights. Now, something subtle begins to change. A faint glow where there was once only darkness. A soft drift in the shape of the constellations. It is the pull of Andromeda, its light now touching the sky of another world. Time itself bends under this weight. Not in a way you could measure easily, but in a way you could feel, if feeling could stretch beyond a lifetime. The dance of galaxies does not move in seconds or minutes. It unfolds in epochs, each step taking millions of years. Yet, to the universe, this is rhythm. The concept of a tide begins to mean something deeper. On Earth, tides mark time, the turning of the day, the pull of the moon. Here, in the dark between galaxies, tides mark the turning of eras. Each cycle, each slow gravitational breath, is a reminder that time is elastic. You realize that time itself flows differently here. Near something massive, like a black hole or the dense heart of a galaxy, time slows, a direct result of Einstein's insight into gravity and space-time. As gravity deepens, time stretches. The same pulse of a clock, the same heartbeat, runs slower in the deep gravity wells of the cosmos. So as these galaxies approach each other, it's as if time thickens between them. What happens in 1 second on a world like Earth may unfold just a little differently in another corner of this vast system. The universe holds this imbalance gently, like two pendulums moving out of phase, yet still part of the same grand mechanism. You drift through a cloud of stars, each one carrying its own miniature tide, planets circling, moons swaying, particles orbiting with quiet precision. On every scale, from the smallest atom to the widest spiral of galaxies, The universe breathes in patterns of pull and release. This is the tide of existence, the motion that never stops. Somewhere deep in the Milky Way's halo, ancient stars that have orbited for billions of years begin to feel a faint tug toward Andromeda. Their orbits distort, their paths subtly changing. Even light itself, which always travels straight in the emptiness of space, now curves gently as gravity reshapes the landscape of the cosmos. You begin to see how everything is connected, how one movement ripples through the whole. The galaxies are not separate islands, but parts of a continuous ocean of space-time. Each star, each planet, each pulse of energy, adds its own note to this universal current. The closer Andromeda comes, the stronger the tide grows. Invisible waves of gravity stretch and bend the invisible grid that defines reality. You could call it the architecture of the universe, an unseen web that everything clings to. As these waves pass through, they carry information, energy, and the faint echo of the past. Scientists on Earth once called these gravitational waves. They are the music of the cosmos, the ripples left behind by great movements, colliding black holes, exploding stars, and yes, the eventual merging of galaxies. Though imperceptible to the senses, they sing across billions of light-years, proof that space itself can shiver. You find comfort in that thought, that even the vast, silent emptiness can move, can feel. That nothing is truly still. As the galaxies inch closer, the Milky Way's spiral arms begin to stretch further outward, like fingers reaching toward a companion. Andromeda's shape, too, distorts slightly, its stars drawn into long trails that shimmer like silver ribbons against the dark. The two begin to sense each other's presence not as strangers, but as twin dancers in an ancient pattern. Time's tide continues to flow, slow and inevitable. You imagine the perspective of the universe itself, a witness not to years, but to the transformation of light over cosmic ages. The galaxies approach, and with each moment, their shapes, their stars, and their destinies begin to weave together. There is no rush here. Only gravity's patience. The tide pulls gently, predictably, with an elegance that belies its power. You float there, watching the slow bending of light, the distant glimmer of stars caught in motion. The airless silence feels alive, filled with the invisible hum of time passing, of forces in motion that have no need for sound. The universe does not hurry. It unfolds. And as it does, you sense something stirring beyond, not chaos, not destruction, but transformation. Because after every tide, after every long pulling away, there is always a return. You look out into the soft horizon of stars and feel that something is about to begin, a movement that will change everything that follows. The rhythm of the cosmos continues, deep and unbroken. And in the stillness that follows, you can almost hear the first whisper. The whisper of stars beginning to move in new directions, toward the storm that is yet to come. You are floating within a storm that has no air, no wind, and no sound, only motion. The two galaxies that once approached each other slowly, silently, have now reached the threshold where gravity turns gentle pull into violent embrace. From your vantage point within the Milky Way's outer edge, the sky begins to shift. Stars that once held fixed positions now drift, their paths no longer certain. Andromeda's glow fills the darkness, no longer a faint smear of light but a vast, rising sea of stars. Its spiral arms stretch outward like immense, luminous waves, curving into the void and breaking across the galactic shore. The first collisions begin at the edges. Vast clouds of gas and dust, silent, invisible on their own, crash together. They do not burn instantly. Instead, they compress. Within those dense pockets, gravity kindles something extraordinary. New stars are born by the thousands. You drift closer, past a newborn cluster, where starlight floods the dark. Each star glows a fierce blue-white, young, massive, and hot. They will live fast and die young, their brilliance a brief flare in the history of the cosmos. Around them, Trails of dust swirl like smoke from unseen fires, sculpted by the same forces that created them. The storm intensifies. Across millions of light-years, the galaxy's centers begin to twist toward each other. Entire spiral arms are torn apart, thrown into great arcs that curve across space. Each arc holds billions of suns, all pulled from their familiar homes. You watch as these stars, once stable, distant neighbors, are caught in the storm's great current. Gravity grips them, flinging some outward into the deep intergalactic dark, while others are drawn inward toward new centers. It is chaos, but it is also creation. The airless silence remains unbroken, but if you could translate motion into sound, it would be a deep, rolling thunder. The storm of stars is not like any storm you know. It does not rage in minutes or hours. It unfolds across millions of years, every phase an act of reshaping. Stars pass close enough to tug at one another, bending their paths but never touching. Between them, massive clouds of hydrogen twist into glowing filaments, lit by the pressure of nearby radiation. Supernovae flare like brief lightning, leaving behind clouds of heavy elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, the building blocks of future worlds. You begin to understand that this storm is not destruction. It is transformation. For every star ejected into the void, another is born in the luminous chaos. For every old pattern lost, a new one begins to take shape. The two galaxies, though torn and twisted, are weaving themselves together into something larger, something more complete. You move toward one of the densest regions of collision. Here, the night is bright as day. Thousands of stars crowd into your vision. Their light overlaps, merging into a pale golden sea. Dust clouds form dark lanes through it all, shaping shadowed rivers across the glow. At the heart of the storm, the black holes of both galaxies begin to sense each other. Each one, millions of times the mass of the Sun, pulls with unimaginable strength. Around them, rings of hot gas whirl faster and faster, glowing in X-ray light. These are the eyes of the storm, calm at the center but surrounded by torrents of energy. The galaxies spiral toward alignment, drawn together by invisible threads of gravity. Their motion is not frantic but precise, as if choreographed by the laws of physics themselves. Each trajectory, each collision, follows the geometry written into the structure of space-time. Even amid this chaos, there is symmetry. The arcs of stars, the streams of light, the slow rotation of gas, all of it follows the same rule. Gravity shapes beauty out of disorder. You drift past another world, one that once orbited peacefully in the Milky Way. Now it faces the storm's edge. Its sky glows with unfamiliar stars. Andromeda's massive clusters cast shadows across its surface. Tides rise higher. The planet's night is gone, replaced by a sky too full of light to ever sleep. It is a breathtaking sight, one that no living creature will witness firsthand, yet it unfolds all the same. The storm rages not for an audience, but because this is how the universe renews itself. The galaxies pass through each other. They do not collide as solid bodies would. Space is too vast for that. Instead, their stars weave through one another like threads crossing in a tapestry. After this first pass, each galaxy is torn and stretched, its structure distorted, yet still held together by gravity's persistent pull. As the storm begins to ease, you see trails of starlight spanning millions of light-years, remnants of the encounter. Some stars, cast into deep space, will wander alone forever, carrying the memory of this collision. Others will be drawn back, pulled into new orbits within the merged core. You float in silence again, surrounded by fading turbulence. The storm's energy disperses, leaving behind calm pockets of gas and dust, the seeds of future creation. The Milky Way and Andromeda are no longer separate. They are bound now, their paths inseparable. The storm has changed them both, stripping away the old to reveal what lies beneath. And yet, even as quiet returns, the motion continues. Gravity still works, still shapes, still pulls. You sense that the universe is preparing for its next act, one not of chaos, but of balance. The aftermath of collision will not be destruction, but reformation. You drift outward, watching the remnants of the storm fade into the black. Stars still shimmer in long trails. Clouds still glow faintly where new light is being born. The galaxies are slowing now, their first encounter complete. In the vast calm that follows, a new shape begins to form. And you realize, this is not an ending. It is a moment between. Because after every storm, there is a stillness. And in that stillness, something new begins to take shape, the calm between collisions. You move through the silence that follows the storm. The galaxies that once collided in chaos now hang suspended in a fragile calm. Dust and gas drift slowly through space, glowing faintly from the heat of the collision that came before. The violence has passed, but its memory remains in every streak of light and every displaced star. The night, as it once was, no longer exists. Where there was once a deep black sky filled with distant, separate points of light, there is now brightness everywhere. New stars, born from compressed clouds of hydrogen and helium, flood the universe with light. They form in clusters, thousands at a time, turning the dark into a soft golden haze. You look toward the remains of the Milky Way's spiral arms. Their once clear structure has blurred. Streams of stars have stretched outward, some torn free entirely, forming faint bridges of light that connect to Andromeda. The two galaxies are no longer apart, but not yet one. They are caught in transition, reshaping, redistributing, redefining what the night looks like. For a long time, the night was one of the most constant experiences in the universe. On any world orbiting a star, the pattern of day and night gave rhythm to existence. Darkness was the interval between activity, a place where life rested and light retreated. But here, in the aftermath of collision, that rhythm dissolves. Entire regions of space are flooded with starlight. What was once dark is now illuminated by the overlapping glow of countless suns. The boundaries between night and day blur. For planets caught within the densest star clusters, the sky is bright even at what should be midnight. There is no place to hide from the light. Imagine standing on one of these worlds. You look up, expecting to see a quiet sky, but instead, it is crowded. Stars fill every direction, so close and so numerous that their combined light erases the shadows. The horizon glows. Even the spaces between stars shimmer faintly with scattered radiation. There is beauty in this transformation, but also loss. The night sky, once a window to the deep unknown, now becomes a sea of light. The sense of vast distance, that comforting reminder of space beyond comprehension, fades into the brightness. You can see everything, yet feel further away from the quiet that once defined the cosmos. The galaxies, too, are adjusting to this new reality. The collision has mixed their stars and gas, redistributing their contents into new patterns. Gravity pulls them back together, slowly, inevitably. Their centers begin to align once more. The once clear structure of spiral arms dissolves, replaced by diffuse clouds of light that swirl gently toward a shared core. You pass through a region where supernovae have recently exploded. The remains of those massive stars expand outward in glowing shells, enriching the surrounding gas with heavy elements. Each burst contributes to the next generation of stars and planets. The cycle of death and birth continues, but on a larger, brighter scale. It is strange to realize that in this brightness, the universe feels less empty, and yet, less mysterious. The faint background that once whispered of infinite space is now drowned in light from nearby suns. The collision has brought illumination but taken away the comfort of darkness. Over millions of years, this brilliance will fade. The youngest, hottest stars will burn through their fuel quickly, ending their lives as supernovae or collapsing into dense remnants. The gas clouds that created them will thin, leaving behind fewer materials for new stars. Slowly, the storm's afterglow will begin to dim. But for now, this is an age of radiance. The night has vanished, and the universe shines brighter than ever before. You drift closer to the merging center of the two galaxies. The black holes at their cores are still distant from one another but moving inward, drawn by mutual gravity. Around each one, hot gas swirls in luminous disks. These regions glow with fierce energy, outshining millions of stars. Jets of radiation stream into space, marking the points where gravity consumes matter at nearly the speed of light. Between these two centers, the light from the galaxies overlaps, creating an enormous, glowing structure. To distant observers, it would appear as a brilliant, distorted oval, no longer two spirals, but something new and undefined. In this brightness, time feels slower. You move carefully, noticing how the light refracts through the thin dust that still hangs in space. Shadows are rare now, faint and fragile. The concept of darkness, something once taken for granted, becomes precious. You think of what it means for night to vanish. On Earth, the dark sky was more than emptiness. It was the canvas upon which humanity painted meaning, constellations, myths, directions, dreams. It was the reminder that there was more beyond sight, more beyond life. In this endless brightness, that depth is gone. And yet, this is the universe's way of renewing itself. The vanishing night is not an ending, but a phase. The stars born in this age will illuminate countless new worlds. Some may harbor life. Others will simply burn, their light carrying messages through time and space. Eventually, this brilliance will fade. The galaxies will settle into new equilibrium. The excess light will dim, and the long night will return in another form. But that is still far away, an age yet to come. For now, you float in the glow, surrounded by light that stretches for millions of light years. You can almost forget what darkness once felt like. Then, as you drift further, you begin to notice faint movements within the glow, the slow settling of matter, the gathering of dust, the signs of a new balance forming. The storm is over, and the night is gone. What remains is something in between, not chaos, not silence, but a waiting calm. You realize that after every great burst of creation, there comes a moment of stillness. And in that stillness, something begins to take shape again, the calm between collisions. You move through a silence that feels endless. The galaxies, once torn apart and ablaze with collisions, now begin to settle. The storm of stars has passed. What remains is a landscape of calm, a slow, deliberate rearranging of what was scattered. The violent motions of the past are gone. The great clouds of gas that once collided now cool and spread out. The blinding light of newborn stars fades as the youngest burn through their short lives. In their place comes a gentle glow, spread evenly across the merged system. The two galaxies, the Milky Way and Andromeda, have begun their slow process of becoming one. You float between long trails of stars. They stretch across space like threads of silver, remnants of the earlier chaos. Gravity is gathering them again, pulling them toward the center. Each star follows its own curved path, drawn by invisible forces that act with perfect precision. The silence is deceptive. Beneath it, the universe is still moving. Every particle, every cloud, every sun obeys the same rule, the slow return to equilibrium. Nothing stops, it only slows. The collisions that once shaped the galaxies are no longer violent, but steady and predictable. From a distance, the merging system looks peaceful. The sharp spiral arms are gone, replaced by soft streams of light that curve around a growing center. Dust and gas move like fog, filling the spaces between stars. It is not emptiness, but balance, a pause between creation and transformation. You drift near one of the vast dust lanes that cuts across this new galaxy. The particles here are remnants of the storm, carbon, silicon, and heavier elements created in dying stars. They float freely, waiting to gather into new structures. Over time, they will clump together again, forming the seeds of future stars and planets. The calm between collisions is not stillness without purpose. It is a stage of renewal. The energy that once burned violently now diffuses through space, feeding the slow processes that sustain the next generation of creation. Temperature drops. Pressure equalizes. Matter settles. You look toward the galactic center. It glows faintly with concentrated light. Deep within it, two supermassive black holes, one from each galaxy, are circling one another. Their orbits tighten gradually as they exchange energy with the stars around them. Each revolution brings them closer. Eventually, they will merge into one, releasing gravitational waves that ripple through the very fabric of space-time. But that moment is far in the future. For now, they remain separated by light years, locked in an invisible dance. Around them, stars orbit calmly, unaware that they are part of something monumental. The galaxy holds its breath. You move outward again, past regions where the density of stars begins to thin. In these outer zones, the collision's effects are subtle. Some stars were thrown far from their original orbits. Others drift in long arcs that will never return to the center. These are the wanderers, suns without homes, moving through intergalactic space. Even they, in their solitude, follow the same rhythm. Gravity binds everything, no matter how far it drifts. The universe keeps its structure through balance, not through stillness. You imagine the perspective of time here. Millions of years pass like slow heartbeats. Gas continues to cool. Dust settles into stable clouds. Fewer new stars are being born now, but those that exist burn steadily, their light more constant than before. The wild energy of youth has passed. The galaxies have entered a quieter age. On distant planets, if any survive, nights might begin to return. The brilliance that once erased the darkness has softened. The glow from the galactic core no longer dominates the sky. Shadows deepen again. The rhythm of day and night, of light and rest, slowly reappears. The galaxies are still separate in parts but gravitationally bound forever. The paths they take from this point on will bring them together again, but gently. Each encounter now is less chaotic than the last. The motions align. The stars settle into smoother orbits. It is as if the universe itself is recovering from exhaustion. You notice the beauty in this phase, not in the drama of collisions, but in the quiet aftermath. The calm between collisions is when structure begins to form. The chaos has done its work. The debris it left behind becomes the foundation for new order. Here, you can see gravity's patience. Every force that once tore the galaxies apart now works to rebuild them. Every disruption becomes the starting point for stability. Even destruction, it seems, carries the seed of renewal. The black holes at the centers continue their orbit. Around them, rings of gas glow softly in infrared light, invisible to human eyes but radiant in the deeper spectrum. The energy they release sustains the slow processes still unfolding throughout the galaxy. This energy, diffused through space, keeps the balance, not too hot, not too cold. You drift through one of these glowing regions. The temperature here is higher than the surrounding space. It feels alive in a way that emptiness rarely does. You can sense the density, the quiet motion of particles colliding and cooling. If you could listen, it would sound like a whisper, the faint hum of matter reorganizing itself. The galaxies are resting, but the rest is temporary. In the vast scale of cosmic time, this calm will not last. The black holes will continue to spiral inward. Stars will form again. New waves of energy will ripple through the galaxy. But this moment, this pause, is vital. It is the balance between what was and what will be. The calm between collisions gives the universe time to reset, to breathe, to prepare for what comes next. You float in the glow of countless stars, each one stable, each one burning quietly. The turbulence has ended, but the memory of motion remains. It lingers in the curves of the stellar streams, in the gentle hum of gravity, in the faint traces of heat that still drift through the void. The silence around you is not empty. It is full of potential. And as you drift further into the stillness, you begin to sense the next stage approaching, not through sound, but through the quiet shift of light. The galaxies are not finished. They are only waiting. Something deeper, darker, and more defined is beginning to form within the calm, the shape of a new galaxy. In the deep silence that follows the storm, space feels different. The turbulence that once roared between the galaxies has quieted into something calm, something almost serene. You drift through what was once chaos, and now you begin to see structure taking shape. Two galaxies, once separate, now orbit through each other's memory. Stars that were torn apart begin to find new balance, new orbits, and a shared identity. The Milky Way and Andromeda are no longer distinct. They are one evolving whole, a newborn elliptical galaxy taking its first form. Gravity, that ancient sculptor of the universe, works slowly and with infinite precision. It does not rush. It gathers, it bends, it reshapes. And over millions of years, the violent collision becomes a memory written in light. Around you, the stars move like a slow ocean tide, flowing inward and outward, tracing arcs that define the new galaxy's core. The dense center glows brighter, fed by the merging of two supermassive black holes that now dance around one another, their gravity shaping everything nearby. You can feel the pull, even from afar, an invisible harmony guiding billions of suns into place. Clouds of gas swirl and condense, their colors shifting from deep violet to gold. These clouds are the seeds of new stars, the next generation born from the dust of the old. Each birth is a spark in the dark, a sign that the universe renews itself even in destruction. The new galaxy grows, not just in mass, but in meaning. It becomes a place where two histories have fused into one. Astronomers who will one day study this merged system, perhaps from worlds not yet formed, will see it as a single, massive elliptical galaxy. They might call it Milkomeda, a name born from the union of both. To them, it will seem timeless, peaceful, eternal. But you, who have seen the journey, know the truth. Every calm sky carries the memory of collision. You drift closer to the heart of the new galaxy. There, stars orbit faster, drawn by the immense gravity at the center. Dust forms lanes that shimmer like faint ribbons of silver. Around you, countless solar systems continue their paths, some stable, some thrown adrift by gravitational tides. A few planets, once warm and bright, now wander in the dark, lost between suns. Yet even in that loss, there is beauty, because every end becomes part of a larger form. The galaxy begins to settle into symmetry. The long, graceful arms that once spiraled are gone, replaced by a smoother, rounder shape. It is not chaotic, but calm. Every orbit, every light, every dark patch contributes to the balance. The stars no longer rush in random motion, they follow invisible patterns, as if the galaxy itself breathes in a slow rhythm. You can almost feel that breath, a pulse of cosmic time that beats not in seconds or minutes, but in millennia. It is the rhythm of gravity finding its equilibrium. In that rhythm, the universe shows its quiet wisdom. Chaos leads to structure, collapse leads to renewal. Somewhere within the new galaxy, civilizations that may rise one day will gaze at their night skies and see this grand structure above them. They will not know the violence that birthed it. They will see harmony, not destruction. Their myths will speak of unity, of balance, perhaps even of rebirth. And in a way, they will be right. Far beyond, from the edge of intergalactic space, the new galaxy glows like a lantern in the dark. It is neither the Milky Way nor Andromeda anymore, but something greater, a synthesis of their stories. Around its edges, faint streams of stars stretch outward, remnants of the merger that drift like cosmic memories. They are the fingerprints of what once was, preserved in light. The new galaxy continues to evolve. Over billions of years, its color will shift from blue to red as its stars age. Star formation will slow, and the bright, young clusters will fade. But for now, it is alive with energy, full of movement, heat, and creation. You can feel it, a warmth that radiates not from fire, but from purpose. The shape of this galaxy, like all things in the universe, is temporary. It will continue to change, slowly, quietly, as time moves on. Gravity never sleeps. It only dreams in slow motion. Every particle, every beam of light contributes to that dream. As you drift farther out, you look back at the new galaxy and see its glow against the vastness of dark space. It is a reminder that even from collision, the universe creates balance. Even from endings, new shapes are born. In the endless quiet, you realize that this galaxy, this merging of light and memory, is not the end of the story. It is the middle, the calm between events. For deep within its heart, the twin black holes continue to spiral closer, their gravity whispering of another great transformation to come. The universe, it seems, is never truly finished. It only pauses, only breathes, before the next shift begins. And somewhere in that quiet core, where darkness waits with infinite patience, something stirs, something that will shape the next chapter of this galactic journey. In the middle of the new galaxy, where light dims and stars orbit faster, lies a region that pulls at everything around it. Here, gravity rules absolutely. You drift closer, through the thick lanes of dust and gas that swirl toward the core like rivers feeding an ocean. The faint glow of distant stars fades behind you. Ahead, the light bends strangely, curving around an invisible force that seems to breathe in silence. This is the heart of darkness, the core where two supermassive black holes from each galaxy have begun their final convergence. Each one contains millions of times the mass of the Sun. Each one shapes space itself. As they spiral inward, their gravitational waves ripple through the galaxy like slow, soundless drums. You cannot hear them, but you can feel their rhythm, deep, steady, inevitable. Around you, the environment changes. The gas grows hotter, compressed by gravity into radiant plasma that glows faintly at the edge of invisibility. This light is not calm, it flickers and arcs, revealing how energy behaves when pushed to its limits. Jets of charged particles shoot from the poles of the black holes, stretching for thousands of light-years into space. They mark the presence of the unseeable, twin beacons in an ocean of night. You move closer, past the accretion disks that spiral like cosmic whirlpools. The motion here is absolute. Time itself slows under the immense gravity. Seconds feel longer, stretched thin by the distortion of space-time. From your vantage point, the black hole's orbits tighten, a slow dance lasting millions of years. Yet, to you, it feels like one long moment suspended between attraction and collapse. When the two black holes finally merge, it will be one of the most powerful events the universe can produce. The energy released in gravitational waves will surpass that of all the stars in the galaxy combined, for a brief instant. Yet, not a single photon of that power will escape directly. The merger's light is swallowed before it can shine. What remains will be a single, even greater black hole, a silent engine at the center of everything. You imagine what lies beyond that event horizon, the boundary from which no light returns. It is not a surface in the ordinary sense, but a limit of knowledge. Space folds inward there, and time loses meaning. The equations that describe it remain incomplete, hinting at a truth that physics has not yet spoken. Inside, all matter is reduced to information, compressed to a point smaller than any concept can contain. Outside this boundary, the galaxy continues to turn. Stars orbit as they always have, unaware of the collapse at the center. From their perspective, the black hole is a calm anchor, massive, invisible, steady. It holds the galaxy together. Without it, the stars would drift into intergalactic space. It is strange, you think, that something which devours light can also create structure. The universe, it seems, balances creation and destruction in the same motion. You hover at the edge of the event horizon, where light swirls and lingers before it falls. The glow forms a ring, the shadowed halo astronomers call the photon sphere. If you could look into it, you would see countless reflections of the galaxy, each one distorted, bent by the curve of space-time. The image repeats infinitely, each smaller and more delayed than the last. Here, reality folds back on itself. The universe becomes a mirror that never ends. The pull grows stronger, and you feel time stretch thinner. Clocks far from here would race ahead, but near the black hole, every second becomes eternal. To an observer watching from a distance, you would appear frozen at the edge, never falling in, your light stretched to red until it fades completely. But from within your perspective, the fall would continue. There is no stopping once the boundary is crossed. Yet, you remain at the threshold, where knowledge and mystery meet. The black hole is not a void in the simple sense. It is a record, a memory of everything it has ever consumed. The laws of physics suggest that information cannot be destroyed. If that is true, then somewhere, deep inside, the memory of every star, every atom, every particle remains. Hidden, preserved, waiting for a way to be known again. The galaxy above still glows, unaware of what happens below. Streams of matter continue to feed the center, drawn by the irresistible gravity. Each spiral adds to the mass, deepening the well of space-time. The jets continue to burn through darkness, marking the invisible with their silent brilliance. You realize that this is not an end, but a transformation. Matter becomes energy, energy becomes information, and information becomes part of the fabric of reality itself. You drift back slightly, watching the two black holes circle one another, their orbits tightening, their gravity merging. The motion is slow but sure. Every turn brings them closer to the inevitable, a single horizon, a single point of no return. You can sense the moment coming. There is a calmness in it, a strange peace. The universe does not fear collapse. It understands it as a necessary part of renewal. When the two finally merge, the gravitational waves that spread outward will ripple through the cosmos for billions of light years. They will pass through planets, through dust, through every atom, even through you. They will be invisible, but they will be there, forever expanding. Somewhere, far away, another civilization may detect those ripples and wonder about their origin. They will see only the echo of this moment, not the vastness of what it meant. The heart of darkness holds many secrets, of time, of matter, of existence itself. It is where our understanding breaks down and curiosity begins again. You can feel that boundary not as fear, but as invitation, to look deeper, to question further, to imagine what might exist beyond the limits of known space. As the light fades completely and the jets stretch into infinity, you begin to drift outward again. The galaxy's glow returns in your view, calm and steady. The center remains hidden, but you now understand its purpose. It is not the death of light, it is the guardian of the galaxy's structure, the engine of its future. Everything that falls in will, one day, shape what comes next. For in the universe, nothing is ever truly lost. You drift outward from the galaxy's center, away from the black hole that now rests quietly in the aftermath of its great merger. What it has left behind is something you cannot see but can sense, a pulse, faint yet infinite. It moves not through air or water, but through the very structure of the universe. These are gravitational waves, distortions in space-time that spread in every direction. For billions of years, they will travel endlessly, stretching and squeezing everything they pass. Not enough for the eye to notice, but measurable, the width of an atom changing for just an instant. They are the aftershock of the universe's most massive events, colliding black holes, merging neutron stars, and the echoes of the Big Bang itself. You imagine space-time as a vast, flexible fabric, smooth and quiet until something heavy moves upon it. Every star, every planet, even your own body rests upon this unseen fabric. When something massive accelerates, a pair of black holes spiraling into one another, for instance, the movement sends out waves. These ripples are not in the air, not in matter, but in space itself. They do not travel through space, they are the movement of space. As the waves pass, distances stretch and contract slightly. If you had two stars separated by light years, that distance would change by a microscopic fraction as the waves rolled through. The stars would not notice. Neither would you. Yet, with instruments delicate enough, like the LIGO observatories on Earth, even these minute tremors can be recorded. Humanity, with all its fragility, has learned to hear the universe breathe. You imagine yourself as one of those detectors, standing perfectly still in the dark. A faint shiver runs through your surroundings, not wind, not sound, but existence itself vibrating. You cannot stop it, you cannot block it. You can only feel it and recognize it for what it is, a message from far away, written not in light but in motion. The gravitational waves born from Andromeda and the Milky Way's collision will move outward forever. They will not weaken into nothing, they will spread thinner and thinner, but they will always exist, like the faint echo of a bell rung in eternity. Each one carries information about mass, distance, and energy, encoded in the way space-time flexes. The universe keeps records in these ripples, archives written into its structure. As you follow one of these waves outward, it stretches beneath you like a smooth, invisible current. The galaxies you pass barely react. They float quietly, their stars unaffected. The waves are not destructive, they are gentle distortions, subtle reminders that everything is connected through the same invisible web. You realize that the cosmos is not static. It lives, it vibrates, it remembers. In another part of the universe, a civilization might one day detect this wave. They will see it as a faint signal, the shape of two great masses colliding. They will not know the names Milky Way or Andromeda, but they will know that once, somewhere long ago, two galaxies met and became one. Through these ripples, information about that event will have crossed unimaginable distances, carrying the memory of creation's motion. You begin to think about how time behaves within these waves. A gravitational wave does not just move through space, it moves through time, bending it slightly. When space-time stretches, time itself slows down. When it compresses, time speeds up. You are, in this moment, traveling through regions where seconds shift like the tide. The difference is too small to notice, yet it exists, recorded in the structure of the universe's clock. It is a reminder that time is not absolute. It depends on gravity, on motion, on energy. When you feel these waves, you are feeling the pulse of the cosmos timepiece. Every event, every explosion, every collapse, every orbit, contributes to this silent rhythm. The universe is not a frozen expanse. It is a living continuum, flowing, bending, and singing through. Gravity's song. As the wave continues outward, it passes through clusters of galaxies, massive structures where thousands of galaxies drift together in gravitational bonds. Even here, the waves move without resistance. They are not blocked by dust, not reflected by matter. They pass through everything, as if the entire universe were one continuous body. You realize that in a way, it is. The cosmos is not a collection of separate things but one great interconnected field. The thought is grounding and vast at the same time. Every black hole that merges, every star that dies, every collision and creation sends out its own waves. Together, they form the background hum of space-time, a cosmic symphony too low for ears to hear but always playing. Astronomers call this the gravitational wave background, a sea of ripples that fills the universe with invisible motion. You drift further, tracing the faint distortions as they travel through the dark. Around you, galaxies appear small and still. Their light travels in straight lines, mostly untouched by these waves. Yet the waves are there, bending space ever so slightly, curving paths that light will follow for billions of years. They are like the slow heartbeat of a being far larger than comprehension. At times, the wave you follow passes through dark matter halos, invisible structures that hold galaxies together. These halos feel nothing, but they shape everything. Even gravitational waves, for all their subtlety, reveal hints about these hidden masses. Scientists use them as tools to map the unseen. They show where matter gathers and how it moves, giving humanity a deeper view into what cannot be directly observed. You think of the black hole merger again, of how its final moment sent this wave outward. The energy released then continues to travel across the universe. Each passing second, it covers more distance, reaching worlds that do not yet exist. The event itself is over, but its effect endures. In this way, the cosmos ensures that nothing ever truly ends. It simply moves on, leaving a trace in the ripples of space. As you drift with the wave, you notice how quiet it is. There is no sound in space, yet the silence feels full, alive with motion too subtle for ears. You realize that quiet does not mean stillness. Even here, where nothing seems to happen, the universe continues to move, to stretch, to evolve. Change happens at every scale, even when unseen. Eventually, you begin to slow, letting the wave continue its journey without you. It stretches onward, carrying the memory of gravity's dance. You look back toward the galaxy now fully formed behind you, a single spiral born of two. At its heart, the black hole rests in calm equilibrium. Around it, stars orbit peacefully once again. The ripples you have followed are their legacy, invisible proof of motion, of merging, of cosmic memory. The galaxy itself will settle into new balance, and over billions of years, it will begin to age. The light of its brightest stars will dim. The rhythm of creation will quiet. But for now, the universe still trembles gently from what has happened. The wave fades into distance, absorbed into the endless sea of space. You remain still, feeling the echo of motion in everything that exists. It is soft, unending, and real. The storm of collision has ended. The black holes have merged, the ripples have faded, and the galaxy that was once two has become one. You move through it slowly, through long spiraling arms that glow faintly in the distance. The bright blue stars that once marked its youth are rare now. Their light was brief, intense, brilliant, and short-lived. Most have already burned out, leaving behind dense remnants, neutron stars, white dwarfs, and black holes. What remains are the smaller, cooler stars, the red dwarfs. They are dim compared to the giants that came before, but far more patient. These stars can burn for trillions of years, their fusion steady and efficient. They consume their hydrogen carefully, releasing warmth not in bursts, but in slow, enduring glow. Around each one, faint systems of planets orbit quietly, bathed in a gentle red light that never changes. This is the age of red stars, the long, stable middle of the universe's life. Star formation continues, but at a slower pace. The gas and dust once abundant after the collision have been used up or locked within aging stars. Newborn stars still appear, but fewer each century, fewer each million years. The galaxy's brilliance has softened into a calm, steady radiance. You drift through this dimmer world and notice how the light feels different. It is not harsh or blinding, but deep and warm. Red light stretches farther, scattering less through dust. It gives everything a quiet tone, a kind of cosmic dusk. The skies of worlds orbiting these stars would glow faintly crimson, never bright like Earth's day. For their inhabitants, if any exist, night and day would merge into one continuous twilight. The temperature of these stars is much cooler than that of the Sun, around 3,000 degrees Celsius at the surface, half as hot as before. Yet their patience gives them power. While massive stars live fast and die in explosions, red dwarfs endure. They represent the universe's shift from violence to endurance. The energy of creation no longer burns brightly, but steadily, like a candle that refuses to go out. In this new era, galaxies settle. The chaos of collisions grows rare as the universe expands further, pushing galaxies apart with increasing speed. Each one becomes an island of light surrounded by widening emptiness. Inside them, life continues at slower pace. Time stretches, not because of gravity now, but because less happens. The universe has matured. You watch one of these red stars closely. Its surface boils slowly, granules of plasma rising and falling over centuries. Around it orbits a small rocky planet. It is tidally locked, showing one face to its sun forever. On one side, endless daylight. On the other, eternal night. Between them lies a thin twilight band, the only region where temperatures are gentle enough for liquid water to exist. If life ever emerges here, it will learn to live in balance, halfway between heat and cold, light and dark. This is what the cosmos has become, not empty, but quiet. The violence of youth has passed. The great bursts of star formation are over. What remains are long lives and slow changes. Even the galaxy's colors have shifted, from bright white and blue to deep yellow and red. Astronomers in distant futures will see this as the natural aging of the universe. You think of time differently here. A red dwarf can live 1,000 times longer than the Sun. Civilizations could rise and fall many times over on its planets before the star itself changes in any noticeable way. If intelligence survives long enough, it may come to see red stars as the true steady hearts of the cosmos, beacons that outlast every other kind of light. As you drift farther, you notice something else. Fewer new stars form now because the cold gas clouds, the raw material for creation, have thinned. Gravity can no longer pull them together easily. When a new star does appear, it is a small miracle, a brief return to the universe's younger rhythm. Each birth is celebrated in silence by the surrounding space, which grows ever more still. The galaxy itself begins to change color. Its arms glow faintly red, its bright regions dim. Astronomers once called this transition the red sequence, the phase when galaxies stop forming new stars and their older populations dominate the light. It is not decay, but a kind of maturity. Like a fire that burns low but steady, the galaxy has found its lasting state. You imagine looking back from billions of light years away. This galaxy would appear peaceful, glowing faintly in the dark, no longer full of the fierce energy of youth. Yet, if you looked closer, you would see motion, stars orbiting slowly, planets circling, radiation still flowing. Even in stillness, there is life. The cosmos never truly stops, it simply slows. In this red age, even light itself becomes gentler. The photons from these cooler stars travel the same distances, cross the same voids, but their energy is lower. They carry warmth instead of heat, memory instead of brilliance. Every red photon is a record of endurance, the evidence that something can shine for trillions of years without fading. There is beauty in this simplicity. Where once the galaxy's light was chaotic, full of bursts and flares, it now glows with quiet symmetry. The chaos has transformed into order. The same physical laws that once created violence now sustain calm. Entropy still increases, but it does so gracefully. You reflect on how the universe expresses time not in seconds or years, but in transformations. Blue stars gave way to yellow, and now yellow to red. One day, even the red will fade to black. But before that distant moment comes, there will be unimaginable ages of calm, where the cosmos holds steady in gentle radiance. Somewhere, perhaps on one of these dim worlds, life might look up and see its sky filled with red suns. It might believe the universe was always this way, quiet, balanced, eternal. It would have no memory of the brighter epochs, no record of how the galaxies once blazed with light. Yet, in the faint warmth it feels from its sun, it would still carry the legacy of that fire. You continue drifting among these stars. Their light does not fade quickly. You move past hundreds, thousands, each one steady and unhurried. The galaxy seems infinite in its patience. In this stillness, you sense the future, the gradual fading that will come, the long decline into cooler, darker times. But not yet. The universe still breathes, slowly, softly. The age of red stars is a time of rest, a cosmic evening where the heat of day has passed, and night has not yet begun. The galaxies sleep lightly, their light still reaching across the expanding void. The storm has passed. The great collision that once tore across the heavens now settles into calm. You drift in the aftermath, through a galaxy newly born, a vast whirl of light reshaped by cosmic memory. The stars have found new homes, their orbits stretching into long, graceful paths. It is no longer chaos but harmony, a quiet drift where gravity hums a softer tune. Around you, the Milky Way and Andromeda no longer exist as separate stories. Their names fade, replaced by the presence of a single, colossal structure, a new galaxy, luminous and serene. Astronomers in the far future might call it Milkomeda, a word born from both ancestors. But to you, floating in its stillness, it feels nameless, a dream of what once was and what remains. The stars move differently now. They no longer race or collide as before. Instead, they drift in calm currents, carried by the slow pull of the new galactic core. The black hole at the center, swollen from the merging of two giants, spins with quiet power. Its gravity organizes the stars into elegant streams, like ripples in water settling after a storm. You pass through star systems untouched by the violence. Worlds that once belonged to different galaxies now share the same night sky. Suns of Andromeda rise beside remnants of the Milky Way. Planets, long frozen or scorched, drift in peace once more. The radiation of collision fades, replaced by a colder, gentler light. Somewhere within these billions of stars, the remains of old civilizations may still linger, fossils of time, traces of what once dreamed beneath different constellations. Perhaps they once wondered about this day, when galaxies would meet. Perhaps they left signals that now wander endlessly through the dust and silence, unanswered but not forgotten. You imagine standing on one of these ancient worlds. The night sky above you is thick with stars, more than ever before. The collision has filled the heavens with new suns, each one a whisper of the past. The Milky Way's spiral arms are gone, replaced by a vast elliptical glow. It is brighter, fuller, and yet strangely still. In this calm, the sense of scale deepens. You begin to feel the immensity of time itself, how it stretches beyond every human word. The quiet drift of worlds becomes a rhythm you can almost hear, the slow orbit of stars, the distant hum of radiation, the faint murmur of the expanding universe beyond. Everything moves, yet nothing rushes. The galaxies, now one, glide through space together. Their momentum carries them forward, but there is no destination, only endless movement through the dark. Beyond their borders, intergalactic space remains vast and silent, filled with stray atoms and the soft glow of background light from the Big Bang. Even here, in this stillness, motion continues, gentle, ceaseless, inevitable. Gravity, once the cause of violent union, now holds everything in place. It binds the stars in long arcs, guiding them in their slow rotation around the heart of the new galaxy. The black hole's pull is patient, eternal. It does not consume all, it simply keeps the balance. Around it, a glowing halo of gas forms, feeding it just enough to let it shine faintly, a quiet reminder of what power truly is. The chaos of collision has given birth to order. From the wreckage, beauty has emerged, not through force, but through time. The dust that once scattered through the void now coalesces into new stars. Each one flickers to life, adding its light to the grand mosaic of the sky. You realize that this is the pattern of all things. Creation follows destruction, calm follows storm, and silence follows sound. The universe breathes in cycles too vast to comprehend. What feels like an ending is only a pause in an infinite rhythm. As you drift further from the galactic core, you see how the light dims at the edges. The stars grow sparser, the dark deeper. Space stretches endlessly outward, pulling your thoughts with it. You are surrounded by quiet, not emptiness, but peace. The quiet drift of worlds is more than stillness. It is healing. It is the universe remembering itself, finding balance after chaos. The stars no longer struggle, they glide, content with where they are. Their orbits are slow conversations, their gravity soft gestures across the ages. You think of Earth, long gone, perhaps, or transformed beyond recognition. If anyone still exists among these distant worlds, they too must look to the heavens in wonder. Perhaps they feel the same quiet or you do now. Perhaps they, too, have learned that all motion, no matter how violent, eventually finds its rest. In the deep calm, time becomes gentle again. Stars fade, new ones form, and the galaxy continues its endless drift through the void. You feel yourself moving with it, part of its motion, part of its story. And as the darkness deepens, you begin to sense another change far ahead, subtle but certain. The stars will not shine forever. Their fuel is finite, their warmth temporary. Slowly, imperceptibly, the era of light will begin to fade. In the vast stillness, you hear the soft whisper of the future, a cooling universe, a dimming horizon, and the quiet promise of what comes next. The galaxy has settled into balance, but time continues its steady march. The years now pass in unimaginable spans, billions upon billions, until whole civilizations could rise and vanish in the silence between two orbits. The galaxy is old now. Its stars, once bright and blue, have burned through their youth. What remains are the slow, steady embers of cosmic age, red dwarfs, faint but enduring, scattered like sparks across an endless night. When you look out across this future sky, you notice how different it feels. The Milky Way's soft band is gone, replaced by a hazy glow from countless red suns. The light is weaker, gentler. Shadows are longer, colors are muted. This is the sky of tomorrow, not filled with brilliance, but with endurance. The stars no longer live in bursts of fury. They are patient now, conserving their fuel, burning with quiet efficiency. The great blue giants that once illuminated galaxies have long since vanished, collapsing into black holes or cooling into neutron stars. In their place are billions of smaller suns, each one destined to last for trillions of years. They do not seek to shine the brightest, they simply last the longest. You drift through the vast expanse of this new era. Worlds orbit these ancient stars, locked in dim warmth. Some of these planets might still cradle life, not like the vibrant forms that once covered Earth, but something slower, more patient, adapted to the faint light. Perhaps their skies glow red, their oceans dark and still, their days stretching into centuries. Life, if it endures, has learned to be quiet. In the heart of the galaxy, the supermassive black hole remains, larger, heavier, and calmer than before. It feeds rarely now, only when a stray star ventures too close. Each encounter sends a brief flare of light into the darkness, a reminder that even in this calm, energy still flows. Around it, the stars continue their slow orbits, forming a stable, glowing halo. The spiral arms that once defined the galaxy have long faded. The collision with Andromeda erased those delicate structures, leaving behind a smooth, elliptical form. There is no longer a sense of youth or motion, only timelessness. The stars drift without urgency, their paths determined by gravity and patience. You pass near one of the galaxy's edges, where stars grow sparse and the dark stretches deeper. Here, intergalactic space begins again, an ocean of near-emptiness filled with invisible radiation and the faint pull of gravity from distant clusters. The universe beyond is expanding still, carrying galaxies farther apart. Every year, the distances grow, and the light between them weakens. From this distant view, the galaxy appears as a single glowing oval suspended in blackness. It is beautiful, but fragile, a flicker of order in an ever-expanding void. The light you see has traveled millions of years to reach you, and by the time it arrives, the stars that created it may already be gone. You think about how the sky of tomorrow looks to anyone who might still exist on a planet within this galaxy. The constellations have changed completely. No familiar shapes remain. The universe has redrawn its own map. The night is filled with cool, reddish light. The brightest stars are no longer young or hot but old and stable. Their calm glow gives the universe a sense of peace, as though it is settling into quiet reflection. The age of creation has ended. There are fewer clouds of gas left to birth new stars. The great factories of light, nebulae, have faded away, their material spent. The universe is not dying, but resting. The rhythm of formation and collapse slows, replaced by stillness. Even so, the remnants of what once was still exist in subtle forms. White dwarfs, the remains of stars like the sun, drift silently through the dark, cooling over billions of years until they fade completely. These stars once blazed with light. Now, they shine only in memory. Their presence is a record of time itself, written in silence. If you could stand on a world beneath this sky, you would feel its age in every color. The light is not harsh or bright. It is a dim red glow that barely reaches the horizon. Nights and days blur together. The temperature is lower, the atmosphere colder. The world feels older, not because of ruin, but because of patience. This is the natural progression of all things in the universe. Energy disperses. Light cools. Even stars grow weary. The universe does not resist this change, it accepts it. What once burned with intensity now endures with grace. The sky of tomorrow is not about beginnings or endings, it is about continuation. And yet, within this slow calm, there is still movement. The black holes that formed from dead stars continue to orbit, merging occasionally to release ripples through space, gravitational waves that travel across the dark. Though faint, they remind the universe that time still has a pulse. The red stars will continue to shine for trillions of years more. To them, this moment is only early afternoon. The universe's night is still far away. But the direction of change is certain. With every passing age, there will be less light, less warmth, and more quiet. You drift in that quiet, watching the stars of tomorrow shimmer softly. Their glow feels fragile, as though one day it might simply fade away. Yet there is comfort in their persistence. Even in fading light, the universe holds beauty, not in brilliance, but in endurance. You begin to feel the subtle chill of what comes next. The light will dim further. The stars, one by one, will go out. The age of red suns will end too, though not for trillions of years. When it does, only remnants will remain, black dwarfs, neutron stars, and the silent pull of gravity. The sky of tomorrow is calm, but beyond it, a greater quiet waits, a universe moving toward darkness, where even light must rest. The universe has grown old. The fire that once filled space with warmth and light is beginning to fade. The red stars that dominated the sky of tomorrow now reach the end of their long lives. They have burned for trillions of years, far longer than any star before them, but even they cannot burn forever. When you look across the galaxy, you see fewer points of light than before. The faint red glow that once marked the age of red stars is now dimming. Some stars cool into black dwarfs, cold, dense remnants that no longer emit light. Others collapse inward, forming silent white embers hidden in the dark. The galaxy that once shone with billions of stars now glows faintly, like a campfire reduced to ashes. This is the fading fire, not an end, but a slow surrender to time. The process is steady, inevitable, and absolute. Every reaction that once created light now slows, losing strength as energy spreads thin across space. There are no more new stars to replace the dying ones. The gas clouds are gone, used up in ages long past. The universe has stopped creating and begun remembering. The temperature across space continues to drop. The background radiation that once filled the cosmos after the Big Bang has cooled as the universe expanded. What was once a searing storm of energy is now only a whisper, a faint glow at nearly absolute zero. The fire that began everything is now little more than a trace. If you could drift through this era, your senses would be overwhelmed not by light, but by its absence. The silence is total. There are no bursts of supernovae, no flicker of young stars being born. Black holes still exist, massive and enduring, but even they are quiet most of the time. Occasionally, one consumes a wandering object, releasing a brief flash of radiation, but those moments are rare, separated by billions of years of darkness. In the quiet void between galaxies, the distances have stretched to unimaginable scales. The cosmic expansion has pulled everything farther apart. Galaxies that once appeared close now recede beyond visibility. The light from even the nearest stars travels for eons before reaching any observer. To anyone still alive, if such beings could exist, the universe would appear almost empty. The fading fire is not just physical, it is symbolic. Every atom in the universe, every particle of matter, is slowly losing the ability to do work. This is the march toward thermodynamic equilibrium, a state where all energy is evenly spread out. Scientists call it heat death, though it is not violent. It is a calm extinguishing, a final balance where nothing more can happen because everything is equal. You drift near a world orbiting one of the last red stars. Its light is dim and soft, the warmth weak but steady. The surface of the planet is frozen under a thin layer of frost. The oceans, once deep and alive, have turned to ice. The air is still, clear, and cold. There is no wind, no sound, only the faint hum of the star above, fading by degrees. On this world, you can feel the scale of time itself. Mountains stand untouched for entire ages. A single rotation of the star may take centuries. The rhythm of the cosmos has slowed so much that movement feels almost impossible. Yet time continues, endlessly, patiently, as the universe slips deeper into stillness. The last red stars fade one by one. When they go out, they leave behind black dwarfs, ancient relics of light, dense and silent. They no longer shine, but their gravity remains. These remnants drift through the dark, invisible but powerful, tugging on what little matter remains nearby. In this era, energy becomes rare. The temperature of space approaches absolute zero, the point where motion itself nearly stops. The cosmic microwave background, once 3 Kelvin, drops further until it is almost indistinguishable from nothing. The entire universe becomes a vast, cold ocean without waves. But even in this final calm, there are faint traces of motion. Subatomic particles still collide occasionally, and black holes continue their slow evaporation through Hawking radiation. These events are rare, but they remind the universe that even in near death, physics endures. The laws that began it all still apply, even as everything fades. You watch one of the last bright stars collapse. Its outer layers drift away, glowing for a brief moment before disappearing into space. Its core becomes a white dwarf, then cools over trillions of years into darkness. This is how light ends, not with destruction, but with cooling. The fire fades, and in its place remains a calm, eternal dark. The galaxy is now mostly invisible. Only black holes, neutron stars, and black dwarfs remain, scattered across the vast emptiness. The few remaining atoms continue to drift, pulled slowly toward the nearest massive object. But even these movements are sluggish, spread across unimaginable spans of time. You sense the universe growing quieter still. The fading fire is nearly gone. What was once a symphony of light and energy is now a low, steady hum. There are no more births of stars, no more explosions of color. The story of light has reached its final chapters. And yet, in this immense stillness, there is something profound, a kind of peace. The universe has completed its journey from chaos to order, from fire to calm. Every burst of light, every act of creation, has led to this balance. The silence is not emptiness, it is fulfillment. You drift onward, watching the last faint glow fade from the nearest star. Its light stretches outward into the dark, traveling endlessly, even after its source has died. Light does not vanish. It continues, weakening, spreading thinner and thinner until it becomes one with the background of space. The fire fades, but memory remains. The atoms that once formed suns, worlds, and life are still here, scattered like dust across infinity. The universe remembers everything, not in words, but in existence itself. Nothing is truly gone, only changed, only slowed. You move further into the future, into a time when even the remnants will begin to fade. Ahead lies the era of decay, when matter itself begins to break apart. But that is not yet. For now, the universe rests, its fading fire glowing faintly against the eternal dark. The stars are gone. The galaxies have dimmed. Yet, the universe is not empty. It is filled with traces, the lingering presence of all the light that once existed. Even though no new stars burn, the radiation they released continues to stretch and weaken as the cosmos expands. This faint background glow is the memory of light, a silent record of everything that ever shone. If you could see it, it would not appear as brightness, but as a soft, nearly invisible hum spread across the entire sky. Every photon, every particle of light that left a star or a galaxy long ago, still travels through space. It grows weaker with distance, its wavelength stretched by expansion, turning from visible light to infrared, to microwave, to radio. Eventually, it becomes so long and faint that it merges into the very texture of the universe. This is what remains, not light you can see, but the memory of light, a physical imprint, encoded in the structure of space itself. It tells the story of what once was, where stars lived, where galaxies collided, where life may have once existed. Though no one is left to see it, the universe still remembers in its own quiet way. The cosmic microwave background, first formed when the universe was young, continues to fade as space expands. It was once a brilliant glow at thousands of degrees. Now it is just a few degrees above absolute zero. In the distant future, it will cool further, becoming undetectable. Yet, even then, it will still exist. Energy never disappears completely. It only transforms, spreads thinner, and moves slower. In this age, the black holes remain the only sources of activity. They are the last engines of transformation, slowly evaporating through Hawking radiation. As they do, they release a final form of light, faint, cold radiation leaking from their edges. This process is incredibly slow, but over time, it adds another layer to the universe's memory. Even in their decay, black holes give back to the cosmos what they once took, energy, in its most subtle form. You drift near one of these ancient black holes. It no longer consumes anything. There is nothing left to fall into it. Instead, it slowly loses its own mass, particle by particle. The radiation it emits is not warm or visible. It is faint, ghost-like, but it carries information, the last trace of everything the black hole once held. In this way, the memory of light expands again, encoded not just in photons but in the decay of gravity itself. The universe has become vast and quiet beyond imagination. The distances between objects are so large that light can no longer cross from one region to another. Expansion has outpaced the speed at which photons can travel. Islands of reality drift apart, cut off forever. What remains in each isolated region is its own memory, its own archive of ancient light and energy. If you could listen, you might say that the universe hums softly with these memories. The energy left in space vibrates faintly, a background tone that never fully disappears. It is not sound, but the pattern of existence itself, a mathematical echo of everything that has ever been. Each vibration, each quantum fluctuation, is a record that time has not erased. The particles that once formed matter, protons, neutrons, electrons, are still here, but they are changing. Over unimaginable spans of time, even they begin to decay. Protons may take up to 10 cubed years to do so, but in this age, such numbers are no longer large, they are part of the rhythm of eternity. As they decay, they release more faint light, radiation so weak it is barely distinguishable from nothingness. Yet it adds another line to the universe's memory. Every moment, the cosmos grows colder. The temperature of the vacuum itself, the energy of space, continues to drop. It approaches zero, but never quite reaches it. This is one of the laws that remain. There is always some motion, some fluctuation, however small. These fluctuations are like whispers in a dead city, proof that the universe has not entirely stopped breathing. You drift through a region once filled with galaxies. Now, only the faint afterglow of their light remains. You imagine tracing it backward, following each photon's path through space and time. If you could do so, you would see everything: the birth of stars, the swirl of galaxies, the flash of supernovae. Each photon is a messenger from the past, still carrying its message across the dark. But there are no eyes left to receive it. The story of light continues without an observer. The memory of light is not for anyone to witness. It simply is, part of the structure of existence itself. Eventually, even the black holes complete their long fading. When the last one evaporates, it releases a final burst of radiation, a brief return of brightness before silence returns. This marks the true end of structure, the moment when nothing larger than a particle remains. The universe becomes a sea of scattered photons and light particles, all stretched into invisibility. You begin to understand that this is not an ending but a transformation. The universe has moved from matter to energy, from creation to reflection. Everything that ever existed is still here, only changed in form. Energy has not disappeared, it has only spread into the widest possible space. The memory of light is everywhere. It is in every direction, in every wavelength, in every gap between what once were stars. The cosmos holds onto its past not in form or structure, but in energy and motion. Time itself carries that memory forward, even as there is nothing left to mark its passage. As you drift deeper into the dark, you begin to sense what comes next. When even the faint radiation has thinned beyond recognition, what will remain? The answer lies in the quiet itself, in the patterns that light leaves behind when it fades. The next chapter of existence is not about energy or matter but about the fabric that holds them both. The universe is not dead, only silent. The memory of light endures, suspended in the geometry of space-time. Every ripple, every vibration, every distant photon is a note in the vast, fading song of everything that ever was. You feel that song still echoing, softer now, but unbroken, a bridge between what has ended and what might still emerge from the stillness that follows. In the vast new galaxy that emerged from chaos, stars glide through their orbits like dancers remembering steps long forgotten. The aftermath of Andromeda's collision with the Milky Way has settled into calm order, but traces of the past still whisper through the cosmic fabric. The newborn structure, an elliptical titan shining with countless suns, holds within it the memory of everything that came before. Deep in its heart, ancient stars still move in paths defined by collisions that occurred billions of years ago. Their trajectories are not random. They carry the gravitational memory of where each galaxy once was. Astronomers in distant civilizations that might exist now would be able to trace back these paths like fingerprints, revealing the story of two galaxies that became one. Around the core, dense clusters of red and yellow stars mark where the centers of both galaxies once met. The gravitational pull that once tore apart their spiral arms has now woven them together into one shared heartbeat. But just as memory can fade, so too will this new order change with time. The smooth elliptical form hides the violence that made it, a reminder that beauty often arises from destruction. Far from the luminous center, entire solar systems orbit silently. Some of them were once part of the Milky Way, others belonged to Andromeda. Now they share the same destiny. In some of these systems, planets drift under unfamiliar constellations, their skies forever changed. The beings that might look up from those worlds would see a sky filled with brighter, closer stars, an awe-inspiring view of the past's legacy. Gravitational waves ripple faintly across the dark void, the echoes of long-ago collisions. Though their energy has diminished, their presence marks the record of every violent merger, every black hole that consumed its partner, and every star that was flung into the intergalactic dark. These waves are the universe's way of remembering, motion turned into memory. Even light, the traveler of eternity, carries with it fragments of the past. The photons streaming through the merged galaxy still tell stories of ancient spiral arms, once filled with blue giants and nebulae. But now, the galaxy's glow is softer, older, more reflective of red giants and aged suns. The universe, it seems, has entered an era of recollection rather than creation. At the center lies a colossal black hole, formed from the merging of both galactic cores. It is a monument to gravity's final act of unity. Around it spins a disk of hot, luminous gas, an eternal reminder of what once was. Every particle falling into its event horizon adds to its memory, creating a record of everything that has ever passed near. If gravity could think, this would be its library, a chronicle of all that ever fell into its grasp. As eons pass, the merged galaxy stabilizes further. The violent gravitational tides that once reshaped its form begin to calm. The stars drift farther apart, settling into new orbits. Yet, within this new peace, the memory of motion endures. Gravity does not forget. Every mass, every orbit, every ripple carries the trace of its origin. The outer regions, vast halos of dark matter, still retain the shape of two overlapping galaxies. Invisible but influential, they continue to shape the paths of stars and gas within. Their interaction long ago set the conditions for this new order, and their unseen gravity now holds the memory of that fateful meeting. They are the ghosts of two galaxies, merged yet distinct in their influence. Over time, the once dazzling bursts of star formation fade. The supply of cold gas, consumed by the violent collision, dwindles to nothing. The newborn stars from the great merger age into red giants. The galaxy grows dimmer, older, more settled in its form. And with each passing billion years, the memory of collision becomes more distant, but never lost. It is written in the motion of stars, the distribution of dust, and the invisible pull of gravity itself. The new galaxy, sometimes called Milkomeda by distant observers, drifts through the expanding universe, a survivor and witness of transformation. It carries with it the story of two great galaxies that defied isolation and became one. Though no consciousness remembers that meeting, the universe itself does. Every gravitational curve, every subtle tug, is an echo of remembrance. And as cosmic time continues its slow, relentless march, the galaxy remains suspended in this balance, between what it once was and what it has become. The stars do not speak, but their light tells the truth, that nothing is ever truly lost. The gravity of remembrance endures, binding the past and present together in eternal motion. At the heart of the merged galaxy, the supermassive black hole reigns as the silent conductor of the cosmos. Born from the violent union of the Milky Way's Sagittarius A and Andromeda's central black hole, it now commands a gravitational domain spanning light-years. Around it, a glowing accretion disk swirls, feeding the colossal entity with streams of gas, dust, and the remnants of shattered stars. Every rotation of that disk hums with invisible frequencies, a deep cosmic vibration that can be heard only through the ripples it sends through space-time. This is the black hole's song. It is not sound as humans know it, but a pattern of gravitational waves, oscillations in the very structure of reality. These ripples radiate outward, carrying information about mass, spin, and energy, whispering to the universe about the drama unfolding in its center. Astronomers of any future civilization, should they exist, would not need eyes to see it. Their instruments would listen instead, decoding the symphony of gravity. The merger of two galactic cores was not a quiet event. When their black holes spiraled inward, they created one of the most powerful gravitational wave events in the history of the cosmos. The surrounding stars were thrown into chaotic orbits, and the shockwaves from their collision reshaped the center of the galaxy. Now, long after the initial impact, stability has returned, but the echoes of that collision still linger in the background, faint but eternal. The central black hole has grown immensely. Its mass now exceeds tens of billions of solar masses, making it one of the most massive singularities in the observable universe. It bends light from the stars behind it, creating a perfect gravitational lens. Around its dark silhouette, space glows with distorted reflections of the galaxy's inner stars. Time itself slows near its event horizon, and matter caught within its influence spirals downward like dust drawn into a cosmic drain. Every particle that crosses the event horizon adds to the black hole's melody. Matter doesn't simply vanish, it changes form, becoming part of the black hole's growing information field. Quantum theory suggests that the data describing everything that has ever fallen and still exists, encoded on the event horizon in ways no being yet understands. The song of the black hole, then, is both destruction and preservation, an eternal paradox. Jets of plasma erupt from the black hole's poles, traveling millions of light-years into intergalactic space. These relativistic streams are the most visible signs of the core's activity, glowing with X-rays and gamma rays that pierce the void. They illuminate distant clouds of gas, triggering new waves of star formation. Even as the galaxy ages and its resources dwindle, the black hole's energy output sustains life in pockets of the darkness. It is both a destroyer and a giver, its power maintaining the fragile balance of its galactic home. Surrounding the core, a dense ring of stars orbits at incredible speeds. Each one follows a path shaped by the black hole's pull. Some skim dangerously close to the event horizon, flaring briefly before being consumed. Others complete their orbits in mere decades, their movement a visible expression of the forces that dominate this region. The closer a star moves toward the core, the stronger the gravitational frequency it contributes to the black hole's song. Farther out, where gravity weakens, the galaxy's stars move in gentle, stable patterns. The violence of the merger is a distant memory here. The black hole's influence is still felt, but more as a steady hum than a roar. It is the pulse of the galaxy, regulating its dynamics, maintaining its shape, and slowly gathering the energy it will need for the future. Over billions of years, it will continue to feed, to grow, and to record the unfolding story of everything around it. There are moments, invisible to any observer, when two black holes, remnants of smaller mergers, drift too close to the supermassive core. Their dance begins anew, a miniature replay of the ancient cosmic collision. When they finally merge, another burst of gravitational waves joins the larger song, adding a new note to the eternal melody. The black hole's voice grows deeper, its power greater, its memory longer. Eventually, the galaxy stabilizes completely. The gas and dust that once fueled the black hole begin to thin out. With fewer materials to consume, the jets weaken, and the central glow dims. But even in this quieter phase, the black hole remains active, spinning with colossal inertia. It waits patiently, for in cosmic time, new matter will always find its way into its reach. Stars will wander too close, asteroids will drift inward, and dark matter will continue to spiral through unseen pathways. Scientists, if any beings still exist to study it, would regard the black hole not merely as a destructive force but as a historian of the universe. Its mass tells the story of everything it has devoured. Its spin reveals how it was born and how many times it merged. Its gravitational waves echo events from across cosmic ages. It is the ultimate record keeper, the guardian of the past, and the composer of the universe's deepest resonance. As the galaxy drifts through the silent universe, the black hole continues to sing. Its song cannot be stopped. Even as energy fades and stars die, its gravitational rhythm endures. Time, distance, and matter may change, but the laws governing this dark symphony remain unbroken. In the end, the black hole's song is not one of despair but of endurance. It is the soundless expression of the universe remembering itself, a constant vibration in the infinite dark, reminding creation that even in silence, something still moves. The galaxy may age, light may dim, but the black hole's song will echo until the universe itself forgets how to listen. The galaxy, once vibrant with motion and light, now moves through the universe in quiet persistence. Billions of years have passed since the Great Merger, and the newly formed galactic system, an immense elliptical shape, has settled into stability. Its arms have faded, its gases spent, its once luminous stars grown old. And yet, it continues to drift, slowly, endlessly, through the dark sea of the cosmos. The story of collision has long ended, but the journey of what remains stretches on without a destination. The vast elliptical galaxy no longer shines with the same energy it once did. The bright, young blue stars that once illuminated its edges have all burned through their fuel and vanished. What remains are older, cooler red and orange stars, ancient suns nearing the end of their lifetimes. Their light is softer, weaker, spread thinly across the widening galactic halo. The glow of the galaxy is now a quiet ember in a universe growing colder with every passing epoch. The black hole at the center, once a beacon of ferocious energy, still turns, but its surroundings have changed. The gas and dust that once fed it have mostly disappeared. Its accretion disk has thinned to a faint ring of faintly glowing matter. Occasionally, a wandering star strays too close and vanishes into its horizon, sending a brief flicker of X-ray light into the void. These brief flashes are rare, tiny reminders that the galaxy still holds traces of motion, even in its age. Around this central mass, stars continue their orbits, though their paths are now more spread out. Over immense spans of time, gravitational interactions between stars slowly change their trajectories. Some are ejected entirely, slingshot into intergalactic space at unimaginable speeds. Others drift outward, settling into the cold outskirts of the galaxy. Space, even here, is mostly empty. Each star, though bound by gravity, is separated by light-years of vacuum. The distances between them grow greater as time expands. Dark matter continues to play its invisible role. Though it cannot be seen, it still holds the galaxy together, forming a vast, unseen halo that prevents the outer stars from drifting away completely. Without dark matter's stabilizing presence, the galaxy would have long since unraveled. Yet even dark matter, silent and patient, follows the universe's larger rhythm. It moves with the expansion of space itself, participating in the cosmic drift that will one day scatter all galaxies beyond each other's sight. The universe, now older than memory, continues its expansion. Every point in space is moving away from every other point, a result of dark energy's persistent influence. The endless drift is not just the motion of one galaxy but the fate of all galaxies. Each is carried by the flow of space-time, like leaves on an ever-widening stream. From any single point, the others fade slowly away. Over incomprehensible spans of time, the night sky grows emptier, the distances between galaxies stretching beyond the reach of light. In this far future, communication between galaxies becomes impossible. Light, once the messenger of the cosmos, can no longer bridge the gap. The speed of light, once infinite to the human imagination, becomes a limiting wall as the fabric of space stretches faster than light can travel. Each galaxy becomes isolated in its own small bubble of the universe, unable to see beyond itself. For this galaxy, the remnant of the Milky Way and Andromeda, that isolation has already begun. Inside its boundaries, the stars age in quiet sequence. Red giants swell and then collapse into white dwarfs, tiny cores glowing with leftover heat. These, too, will fade over time, cooling into black dwarfs, cold, invisible remnants that no longer emit light. The galaxy slowly transforms from a brilliant congregation of stars into a collection of faint, dense objects. The endless drift becomes a motion not of brightness, but of persistence, an eternal continuation of form even as energy declines. Yet even in this fading stage, the galaxy is not lifeless. Some stars still host planets. Around certain dim suns, the remnants of ancient solar systems continue to orbit in silence. Frozen worlds circle their dying stars, locked in perpetual night. The heat that once flowed through them has long escaped into space, leaving them as solid spheres of rock and ice. Life, if it ever existed here, would have long vanished, but the structures of those systems remain, a frozen architecture of memory. Occasionally, collisions between stellar remnants spark brief moments of activity. Two white dwarfs may merge, creating a sudden flare of light, a supernova that briefly restores brilliance to a small corner of the galaxy. For a few moments, light once again travels across the darkness, only to fade back into the void. These rare events serve as echoes of the galaxy's younger age, a reminder that motion and energy still exist, though at the quietest possible level. Over longer spans, gravitational forces continue to shape the galaxy's destiny. The orbits of distant stars and remnants subtly shift, and the structure becomes more diffuse. The boundaries between the galaxy and intergalactic space blur. The endless drift is not only through space, but through time itself. Each passing billion years stretches the fabric of what remains, thinning it toward invisibility. Eventually, only the central black hole remains as the most prominent feature, a dark anchor in a universe nearly emptied of light. From this point onward, change becomes almost imperceptible. The galaxy's motion continues, but with no clear direction. It drifts within a region of the cosmos that is expanding faster than gravity can bind. Even the light it emits struggles to move outward, red-shifted into invisibility by the expansion of space. The endless drift becomes an existence defined not by change, but by endurance, the slow persistence of mass and gravity in a universe losing its ability to remember. The black hole still sings faintly in the gravitational background, though its song is now too low for any listener. It represents the memory of everything that came before, the galaxies that merged, the stars that lived and died, the energy that once defined creation. It is a monument to the passage of time, drifting alongside the faint remnants of its galactic home. The endless drift continues, silent and unbroken. And as the galaxy moves farther into the empty future, it carries the faintest trace of what once was, light that took billions of years to escape, still moving outward into the darkness, never to be seen again. Every photon is a final whisper of history, a record of existence still traveling through space, even as its source fades away. The galaxy drifts on, timeless and slow, with no horizon and no destination, only the vast, expanding night. In this drifting silence, something unspoken lingers. The galaxy, though ancient and dim, still moves according to the same laws that shaped its birth. It has not vanished. It has not stopped. Somewhere within that endless motion lies the quiet promise of continuation, of what might one day follow when all things have finally come to rest. The galaxy has drifted for uncountable ages, through a universe that continues to stretch and thin. The vast cosmic web that once connected every galaxy has faded into isolation. What was once a rich network of starlight and dark matter has now dissolved into scattered islands of matter, each separated by voids too great for light to cross. Yet even in this near emptiness, traces of everything that ever happened still exist. The energy, the radiation, and the faint gravitational whispers all remain as echoes of everything that once was. The universe may appear empty, but it is not silent. Across its immeasurable expanse, faint backgrounds of energy persist. The cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, still lingers, though it has stretched into wavelengths so long they can no longer be detected by any conceivable instrument. It is the oldest memory of the universe, a remnant of its birth, still traveling outward with no one left to receive it. Every expansion of space cools it further, until its temperature falls below a trillionth of a degree above absolute zero. The stars have almost all gone out. The few that remain burn dimly, red dwarfs surviving on their last reserves of fuel. They radiate weakly, casting long shadows across the darkness. Around them, planets remain cold and desolate. Over time, these last stars, too, will fade into white dwarfs and then into black dwarfs. The universe will no longer contain visible light. The only illumination will come from rare collisions, when two black dwarfs merge or when a neutron star decays, releasing a final pulse of energy before disappearing. Even now, energy still moves through the universe in the form of gravitational waves. These are the true echoes of everything. They are ripples in space-time created by every violent event that has ever occurred, every supernova, every black hole merger, every cosmic collision. Unlike light, they are not easily absorbed or scattered. They pass through matter without resistance, carrying with them the memory of movement and mass. Long after light has vanished, these faint gravitational tremors continue to spread, preserving the record of cosmic history in the fabric of reality itself. The galaxy that once formed from the Milky Way and Andromeda continues to exist as a dark structure of dead stars, black holes, and remnants. Yet even this massive system is slowly dissolving. The gravitational bonds that hold it together weaken as time stretches forward. Occasionally, remnants collide, creating tiny bursts of energy, but these are increasingly rare. Most motion now occurs without light or sound, an invisible dance of gravity among invisible things. Dark matter still threads through the galaxy's remains, though even its influence diminishes as expansion accelerates. The dark energy that drives the universe's growth dominates all other forces. Its effect is subtle but relentless. Galaxies move away from one another faster than gravity can pull them back. Eventually, space will expand so rapidly that even the atoms themselves may struggle to stay bound. For now, though, the scale of the galaxy remains stable, a quiet fortress of matter in an ever-accelerating universe. Inside this fortress, the black hole at its center remains active in its own way. It no longer feeds, but it continues to emit faint Hawking radiation. According to quantum theory, even black holes slowly evaporate, losing mass as pairs of virtual particles appear near the event horizon. Over unimaginable timescales, far longer than the current age of the universe, the black hole will shrink. Its evaporation will release one final burst of energy, a flash that marks the end of its existence. This, too, will add to the echoes that fill the void. The echoes are not just physical, they are informational. Quantum mechanics suggests that information about every event, every particle interaction, every burst of energy is never truly lost. It becomes encoded in the structure of space-time itself, scattered throughout the universe in ways too subtle to perceive. The echo of everything, then, is the universe remembering itself, not through life or consciousness, but through the enduring patterns written into its very geometry. As energy spreads thinner, time feels slower. The flow of cause and effect remains, but its pace is stretched beyond imagination. Processes that once took seconds now take eons. The decay of protons, if it occurs, will mark the gradual disintegration of matter itself. At that stage, Atoms will cease to exist as stable structures. What remains will be radiation, isolated particles, and the lingering traces of gravitational fields, ghosts of what once filled the universe with structure and meaning. Yet, even this slow fading does not happen at once. There are still long ages when black holes dominate the scene. They are the last engines of the cosmos, the final keepers of energy and memory. As each one evaporates, it releases particles and radiation, restoring a fraction of its captured energy to the universe. Over unimaginable spans of time, every black hole will eventually vanish. When the last one fades, there will be no stars, no galaxies, no matter as we understand it, only a vast, nearly uniform sea of particles and energy drifting apart. This is the true echo, not the sound of something ending, but the trace of something that once was. Every event leaves its signature, no matter how faint. The collision of galaxies, the birth of stars, the formation of planets, all of it leaves an imprint in the structure of space-time. Even when there is no observer left to detect it, those imprints endure. The universe itself is the observer now, holding within its expanding fabric the complete record of everything that has ever existed. If you could look at the universe from outside of time, you would see not emptiness but a vast pattern, waves, ripples, and threads of influence stretching across the ages. The echo of everything would not be a sound but a geometry, the map of reality's memory. Every atom that ever moved, every photon that ever shone, every gravity wave that ever passed has left a mark. Together, they form the total history of creation, a story written into the structure of existence. There comes a point where these echoes become so faint that they can no longer interact. Energy spreads until it is evenly distributed, reaching a state called thermodynamic equilibrium. This is the heat death of the universe, when there are no gradients left, no differences in temperature, no flows of energy. In that moment, change ceases. The echo of everything becomes still, preserved but inert. The universe will not end with violence, but with perfect quiet. And yet, even in that quiet, there is something profound. The information encoded within space-time still exists, frozen into the geometry of the cosmos. The universe, though no longer active, still contains the full record of itself. The echo of everything remains as the final trace of meaning, a vast, silent memory suspended in the endless dark. But as this great stillness deepens, a question lingers. If every echo remains, could something, someday, learn to listen again? The universe has reached an age so great that time itself feels stretched beyond comprehension. Energy is thinly scattered, matter nearly gone, and yet the framework of reality endures. Every law, every constant that once governed galaxies, stars, and life remains intact. Though everything familiar has faded, the cosmos continues to exist in some form, silent, diffuse, but not destroyed. What persists is not motion or light, but the structure of possibility, a quiet foundation that still holds the potential for something new. This is the dream of continuance. In this era, the universe has entered its longest and calmest stage. The expansion that began billions of years ago continues, stretching space until it becomes unimaginably vast. No galaxies can see one another now. They are separated by distances so immense that even light cannot cross between them. The observable universe for any remaining point in space is effectively empty. Yet despite the growing darkness, the underlying geometry of the cosmos still evolves. Space does not stop expanding. It moves, slowly and endlessly, under the influence of dark energy. Most forms of matter are now gone. The stars that once filled galaxies have long since burned out. Black holes, once the most powerful and stable structures, have evaporated through Hawking radiation. What remains is a thin sea of low-energy particles, photons, neutrinos, and the faint residue of decayed matter. They drift endlessly, rarely interacting. The universe is cold, almost perfectly uniform. Entropy has reached near maximum, meaning that energy is evenly distributed. There are no gradients left to power motion, no imbalance to spark new creation. But even here, in the depths of time, there are still subtle quantum fluctuations, tiny, random variations in energy that occur due to the uncertainty built into the universe. In some regions, these fluctuations are enough to briefly create virtual particles, or even small pockets of space-time curvature. They appear and vanish almost instantly, leaving behind ripples that stretch outward. On the scale of infinity, even these fleeting moments matter. They are the seeds of potential, the faint signs that reality itself is never entirely still. The dream of continuance is not a conscious dream. There are no minds left to imagine or witness it. It is the natural continuation of the universe's laws, the quiet persistence of physics doing what it has always done, allowing existence to evolve, even in the absence of light and matter. The field that underlies space, known as the quantum vacuum, still hums faintly with energy. Though minuscule, it cannot be removed or silenced. It is this residual vacuum energy that sustains the expanding universe, ensuring that nothingness never becomes absolute. In the deepest reaches of time, there exists the possibility of new beginnings through rare fluctuations. Quantum cosmology proposes that, given infinite time, random fluctuations could create localized regions of high energy, bubbles of space that rapidly expand, igniting new universes through inflation. These universes would form within the larger, empty background, disconnected from what came before. They would have their own space, their own time, and their own physical laws. In this way, the dream of continuance becomes a literal continuation of existence, creation emerging from the remnants of the old. Each new universe would begin as ours once did, with a burst of expansion, followed by cooling, condensation, and the birth of matter. To those hypothetical worlds, our universe would be an untraceable ancestor, a distant memory encoded only in the quantum fields that spawned them. The cycle of expansion and renewal might continue without end, each iteration unaware of the last. The dream of continuance, then, is not about preservation, but transformation, existence finding new forms to express itself when all others have faded. From another perspective, the concept of continuance can also be seen through the persistence of information. According to certain interpretations of quantum theory, information about all physical processes is never truly lost. Even after black holes evaporate, the information that once fell into them may remain encoded in the structure of space-time. If true, then the universe's complete history is still embedded somewhere in its foundation, invisible yet enduring. Though no beings remain to interpret it, the universe carries its own memory forward. Even in this ultimate quiet, the fundamental constants of nature, such as the speed of light, the gravitational constant, and the quantum of action, remain stable. They define the boundaries of what is possible, even in a nearly featureless reality. These constants are the skeleton of existence, ensuring that if conditions ever become right again, structure could emerge. In this sense, the dream of continuance is written into the very mathematics of the cosmos. It is not a dream of life, but of persistence, an ongoing framework that allows the possibility of rebirth. There is also the question of perception, even in this empty universe. Without observers, does the universe still exist in the same way? Physics suggests that it does. Observation may shape quantum events, but the structure of space-time itself does not depend on consciousness. Existence continues whether or not it is seen. The dream of continuance is therefore not a human dream, but a universal one. It is the expression of a reality that refuses to fade completely, even when stripped of all form. The passing of time becomes increasingly abstract here. With no stars to measure it and no motion to mark its flow, time loses its practical meaning. Yet, it still exists as a coordinate, a direction in which the universe expands. The dream of continuance unfolds along this unending timeline, with each new fluctuation representing a potential beginning. The old universe does not die suddenly but dissolves gradually into a medium that may one day generate new order. In the farthest conceivable future, when even the longest possible processes have completed, the universe will be almost entirely uniform. Yet quantum uncertainty ensures that it can never be perfectly still. There will always be fluctuations, always a faint background of potential. From this potential, something might one day arise, a new spark, a new expansion, a new cosmos born from the cold ashes of the old. That is the meaning of continuance, not a repetition, but a renewal. The dream of continuance, therefore, is not an end but a bridge. It connects the fading universe to the possibility of what comes next. It represents the ultimate resilience of existence itself, the fact that something always persists, even when all forms have vanished. In every equation of physics, in every fluctuation of energy, in every whisper of quantum uncertainty, the potential for rebirth remains. The universe dreams not because it chooses to, but because its nature allows no absolute end. And so, even as the old universe stretches toward complete stillness, the faint hum of possibility endures. Somewhere within the void, energy flickers, space trembles, and the pattern of creation holds steady. The dream of continuance continues without witness or sound, a silent preparation for the next chapter in the infinite story of existence. The universe has entered its last observable moment. Every process that once defined existence, motion, radiation, interaction, has slowed to near perfection of stillness. The expansion continues, but there is nothing left to stretch. Galaxies have faded into invisibility, black holes have dissolved into radiation, and the background energy has thinned into almost nothing. Time continues to advance, yet there are no remaining events to mark its flow. What remains is a vast, uniform expanse of low-energy space, the final state of the cosmos. This is the final lullaby, the ultimate quiet that follows every act of creation. In this age, the temperature of the universe has dropped to near absolute zero. The faint heat left from earlier epochs has long since dissipated. Space itself no longer produces structure. The fabric of reality is smooth and nearly featureless. Even the rare quantum fluctuations that once stirred brief sparks of activity have become too weak to create meaningful disturbances. The quantum vacuum still contains minimal energy, but it is stable, producing no lasting change. The universe has effectively reached thermal equilibrium, the condition where no energy differences remain to drive transformation. The final lullaby is not a sudden event but the gradual completion of an infinite process. Each stage of cosmic evolution, from the formation of atoms to the birth and death of stars, from galaxies to black holes, has played its part in dispersing energy and increasing entropy. Now, entropy is as high as it can possibly be. Every potential form has decayed. Every gradient has flattened. The cosmos is as simple as it can be, yet the structure of space-time still persists. The geometry of the universe remains, though all features within it have faded beyond recognition. In this ultimate stillness, particles exist as isolated fragments of probability. The universe has expanded so far that any remaining particles are separated by incomprehensible distances. They will never meet, collide, or exchange information again. For all practical purposes, they are alone. Time for them continues, but without interaction, the passage of time becomes irrelevant. Processes that once defined physics, fusion, decay, gravitational collapse, no longer occur. The universe has reached a state of perfect inertness. Dark energy continues to drive expansion, stretching the already empty space. As it does, it dilutes even the smallest traces of matter and radiation. On the largest scales, the cosmos becomes indistinguishable from a perfect vacuum. This expansion may continue forever, ensuring that the universe remains infinitely vast but devoid of activity. Space-time, though empty, remains stable. The laws of physics still exist, but there is nothing left within the universe to express them. The final lullaby is the final expression of those laws, order dissolving into complete equilibrium. The last remnants of structure fade not with destruction, but with dispersal. Protons, if they decay, will eventually transform into light particles, which themselves will stretch to wavelengths longer than the size of the observable universe. Even information encoded in these final particles becomes effectively lost, spread so thin that no system can ever reconstruct it. The cosmic background becomes a faint whisper of energy, an echo of everything that once was. Yet, despite the loss of form, nothing truly disappears. Energy and information remain conserved, though unrecognizable in their new distribution. In this deep future, the meaning of time shifts entirely. Without clocks, without change, without movement, time becomes an abstract coordinate, a dimension without content. The final lullaby unfolds not in moments, but as a timeless state. There are no events to separate past from future. The universe simply exists in equilibrium, no longer evolving, but also not ceasing. The distinction between being and non-being fades, replaced by a uniform, static reality that extends endlessly. Some cosmological theories propose that this state may not be permanent. The quantum vacuum, even at its lowest possible energy, could experience a rare fluctuation that destabilizes it. If that happens, a new region of high energy might form, a bubble universe that rapidly expands, creating a new space-time with its own physical laws. From this perspective, the final lullaby may not be a true ending but a transitional silence, a pause before a new creation. However, such events would occur on timescales so vast that they are effectively beyond comprehension, measured not in years, but in unimaginable magnitudes of cosmic time. To any hypothetical observer, the universe now would appear completely dark and silent. There would be no reference points, no background radiation, and no light of any kind. The geometry of space would feel infinite and unchanging. The observer would exist in pure isolation, with nothing to sense or measure. In such a reality, existence and non-existence are indistinguishable. The universe has become an eternal pause, a frozen remainder of all that once unfolded. Yet even here, the underlying framework of reality endures. The constants of physics remain defined. The quantum fields that once gave rise to particles still fill all of space, though inactive. These invisible fields ensure that the potential for creation remains, even in perfect stillness. The final lullaby, then, is not pure extinction. It is the last equilibrium state of all that exists, a moment when potential remains but activity has ceased. The universe has not been erased. It has simply reached its quietest possible configuration. From a broader view, this ending fulfills the long trajectory of entropy. The universe began in a state of extremely low entropy, a dense, hot, ordered beginning. Over billions of years, it moved steadily toward disorder, transforming energy into forms that spread wider and wider until no structure could remain. The final lullaby represents the fulfillment of that journey. Maximum entropy, maximum uniformity, minimal energy. It is the conclusion of every physical process, the endpoint of evolution written into the very laws of thermodynamics. Still, within this total silence, there is meaning in the persistence of the framework itself. The universe began and ended under the same fundamental principles. The same equations that govern the birth of stars now govern their absence. The continuity of those laws forms a kind of memory, a record that the cosmos existed and evolved according to precise order. Even if no observer remains, that order still defines what is real. The final lullaby is therefore not a song of loss, but a confirmation of completeness. Eventually, as expansion carries on indefinitely, distances become so large that even the notion of position loses meaning. Quantum uncertainty dominates everything, and the distinction between empty space and the vacuum field itself dissolves. Reality becomes a uniform mathematical state, unchanging and eternal. Whether this should be called existence or nothingness no longer matters. The final lullaby represents the merging of both ideas, the last stage of being before everything becomes indistinguishable from the void. The story of the universe concludes not with violence or collapse, but with calm. It ends as quietly as it began, an infinite field of potential, awaiting whatever the laws of physics may next allow. Nothing more can happen, yet the framework remains open for whatever may come after. The final lullaby plays without sound, without witness, without time, a state of perfect balance, where everything that ever was rests in the stillness of what remains.